Call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
So bring it in the flag. Wait, one direction. This will face circuit. Yeah.
Okay.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And the next item is a statement of compliance with the FOIA.
I said, you turn them up just a little bit.
Think.
I'm gonna miss anything.
public notice given, Bryson.
What's that?
Public notice given, we comply.
Yes.
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 Yes. And for my education, what is the FOIA? Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we're just waiting on Bryson to come back. He asked if we complied with FOIA.
Yes, we are.
Okay, perfect. Okay, next item is we need an approval of the agenda. I'm assuming that's this agenda, today's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion to approve today's agenda is complete and approved. Next item is the approval of the minutes from our meeting last Tuesday. Those were sent out.
I move approval as submitted.
We have a second. I need a second. All in favor? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approval of the April 8th minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion to approve the April 8th minutes is approved. Okay, now we've got, the next item is the discussion and recommendations of grant presentations from the committee members. Do we want to, what's the general process for this? Just to go right down the line?
And this is the sheet we're going down the line of, is that right? Okay, that puts me first with Hilton Head Island Airport, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
If you'll recall, we asked them some questions about what they were doing, and we asked them some questions about other revenue sources and things. In our analysis, my analysis of their presentation was about bringing business exclusively to the island and competing sort of with the Savannah Airport under the perception that people might drive into Savannah, rent a car, and drive to Hilton Head. I don't think that's an accommodations tax issue outside the gates of the bridge to Hilton Head. I do think that the success of the airport is important, but I think there are a number of revenue and sources available to them. And this particular campaign, while it might be largely helpful, is not going to make someone decide to come to the island. It might make them decide to come to via the airport versus another means. So I personally don't think that this being a enterprise fund agency owned by the county and funded partially by FAA and partially by fees from airplanes, hangar rentals and other places, I don't think we should fund this. I personally would recommend to them that we, or whoever they would like to work with them, to build additional hangars out there, because that produces recurring income for them. And because, as the guy described, they have 60 people waiting for hangars, and they have planes parked on aprons because they don't have hangars available to rent. My immediate response to that is build more hangars and raise the price for rent, and then you'll have enough to fund this without any need for us.
So they've asked for hangars for the other airport, not this one. Yeah, okay.
So, and there's a need for both. So my recommendation is that we thank them for their application and the information, but decline the fund.
Anybody else have thoughts? That I agree with that. That was my thinking when they were presenting. Anybody else? One quick question that for some reason I can't remember. How much do we have to award?
So our budget was 1.3 million for cycle one. We awarded out 760,250. So we are at,
6 something. 687,170. That's what's on the list.
that's how much.
Well, that's the
was
request,
requested.
but yeah, what do we have
So we
left?
have 539,750.
Okay,
And Mr. Chairman, if we don't allocate that all, we can carry it over to next year or perhaps do some other stuff. But we're not under an obligation to spend.
and what types of things would be included in perhaps do other stuff?
Well, I think we need direction from county council, and we probably should ask for them, but the state law would allow us to do any number of things. But the process we have been following is that those things are only allowed to be done under state application. Let me give you an example. If say, one of the facilities here in the county, I'll just pick for Fremont because I'm familiar with it, came back in and they wanted to have extended hours so that people that come to the county can go visit there at different times, all them stay longer and that sort of stuff. The state law would allow us to consider that. And one of the hopes I have for this committee at some point, this is a personal issue, is that we ought to have some discussion about what we expect from these various attractions and how we can help them get there. That means that probably a system, and the county council has been presented with one, not unlike the system that they use in Europe, where they look at things like, what's it like when you arrive, the sense of arrival at the place, what's the internet presence, what's the experience while you're there, is there a story to be told, is there someone there telling it, are you open regular hours, do you have parking, do you have air conditioning, those sorts of things to encourage people that are going to do more. If you look at our cultural, historic, and other attractions in this county and potentially, we have huge opportunities. And those opportunities are not something that we will fund with this A-tax. But if it does involve bringing people to, let's say, one of the shell rings that's out there and people want to grow it, or to some other activity, that's something this accommodation tax could do. But I think having been at some of these training sessions, like many of you have, many of these organizations are interested in knowing more about how they can retain visitors, encouraging them to come back. And that probably goes beyond just funding festivals and activities of the type. And seeing a lot of applications.
So Brian, can we use some ATAX money to fund the study if we go to USCB to follow up on these activities?
Define the study that you're talking about.
USCB has, I forgot the name of it, they come around, so if you're gonna fund the Gullah Festival, they would send students out or whatever to do what Dick just said. How's your experience, where are you from, blah, 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 do some data collection. So he showed it at the one meeting.
What we're referring to, Brian, is that let's take, we'll use a example, the Gullah Museum in Hilton Head.
Yeah.
What we did several years ago, about 10 years ago, is we hired the hospitality and tourism group at the University of South Carolina, Beaufort, and they applied a regular criteria. And so they went out and looked at what your sense of arrival is, looked at whether or not you have facilities there, looked at whether or not, if you had retail, did it work? Did you have parking? Were you open sufficient hours? If someone were there, would they get a sense of a certain experience and be satisfied with that? And by doing that on a regular basis, those folks that were evaluated that year, and that included a number of them, Penn Center, Port Royal Maritime Center, and others, they were pleased to see the areas they needed to improve in. Coastal Discovery Museum was done. And having a mechanism like that where those folks are looking to improve doesn't mean we fund it through this committee, but it does mean that will have a lot to do with whether the visitors have a good experience and come back. As you may know, I'm the county's representative on the CVB board, Ken's on that board. And Rob Wells' studies has indicated that about 60% of the people who come to Beaufort County expect to have cultural and historic experience. And if you add outdoor sports, that number goes to 70%. But the historic and cultural folks come away with about a 48% satisfaction rate because they have this great expectation. When they get there, the expectation is a little less than they would like.
That was using Charlie Calvert and his folks?
That was, Charlie was there then, but it's that group, yeah.
It was a discussion item at Finance Committee last night.
Right, yeah. Bill had did that too. I don't remember if Turk allowed for that or not. or if we use general fund or local 3% ATAX money.
Mhm.
The local 3% ATAX money is easier because you're not having to justify how it qualifies for promotion or advertising for tourism, which is the closest category that we're talking about here.
Right.
So personally, rather than run the risk and make, finance office and the ATAX committee send this justification up to TURP, you may want to consider using local 3% money for that study.
But now if we use local 3% money for the study, and the study comes back and said they need some presence online, which would be marketing, that would be eligible to be funded through here. Is that correct?
The promotion and advertising is clearly eligible for funding from any ATAX funds.
Right, if they had kiosks on the grounds telling the story, those sorts of things.
And if we deny, what is a justification? Can we get justification of the denial?
You
Or
have to,
something?
you have to convince TURP that it qualifies under
Okay.
one of those
What
categories.
denial are you referring to?
No, that's the one you said, you agree not to fund that airport.
Okay, we don't need to give a
You don't need to give-
justification
okay.
in relation to this particular
Okay.
topic on the airport. My reasoning is that our task is to invest these dollars in ways that will increase the return of these dollars to the county. That particular process by a subsidiary of the county doesn't seem to fit that criteria.
Yeah, as I understood what you were saying, Dick, was that you said that, yeah, it's clearly advertising promotion, but it wasn't necessarily for tourism to draw.
Okay.
And if you read it, they say it's basically
Yeah.
to get people to come there and see using this.
Ken, who's going to write up the little blurbs for county council?
The vice chair is in charge of the meeting, so I'd say it's him.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I'm aware of it,
Ken, I'm happy to help you if you want me.
That would be terrific.
because that's what goes to finance committee.
Okay. Do we have a copy of the last one that was sent as maybe as a template?
We can
Yeah.
get that for you.
I can send you one.
Thank you.
Will you
Probably
present
send it
this
the
at
last like 3
finance
years.
Okay.
Ken, we'll send you the last 3 years so you have samples to look at.
Thank you.
Ken, is your goal to present this at the finance committee meeting next week? Otherwise, you gotta wait a month.
It's not gonna get done in time to get there,
Why?
because we're doing agenda review tomorrow,
It just has to be on there
but he would have to have his write-up done before it's published to get there.
by Friday.
Certainly by Monday, but he may even be able to have this done by Monday, I don't know.
Ken, I would request if we could to strive to get it on that and go ahead and put it on the agenda if we have to delay it because it wasn't ready. Fine, but I think we can have it ready tomorrow.
Let's do it.
Or at least give an oral
An oral
briefing with a written to follow for council if necessary.
Yes.
So you're at the finance committee agenda setting, that's tomorrow. So could you make sure that gets on there?
I'll put it on today if I remember.
Yeah, because I'll be late, okay. All right, thank you. So, you have to vote on this one.
Okay, are we gonna do
So
that?
my
Are we gonna vote one at
recommendation
a
is not
time as
to
we
vote.
go down?
What was that?
Well, an alternative would be to go through them and then come back. I mean, go through them, have everybody kind of talk about each one and then come back and vote on each one. Just so they're kind of relative to each other is one approach. Or
That's how we did it last year, or the first cycle.
Yeah.
We just talked about all of them and then you voted as a whole.
But if you have some that are clearly you're not gonna fund, why would you do that? But that's up to you, you're the committee.
yeah, that's a good point. If there's one that's like, for me, I mean, I can just tell you this before, I don't have to look at the rest of them. I'm a no on the airport.
If we could suggest, while it's fresh in our memory, because it's a little different format than the last time, because we just finished the presentation, I'd like to go ahead and get a discussion made, particularly on the zeros. And when we start moving money around, my other one, maybe whether it's 30 or 36, but
Right.
we discuss that, this will be out of the way. And this particular one, Mr. Chairman, I'd like for us to go ahead and say if you're just going to fund it or not. I recommend not.
Sounds good. I'm fine with that. Okay, so let's,
I'll make that in the form of a motion then.
Right, there you go.
second,
1 second.
I'll second the guide, I vote no too because of the criteria and the guidelines stated, outlined in the guideline for the ATAX monies.
No.
Okay,
Anita, we need your vote.
oh, you're up, you,
No.
Thank you.
all right, you got two.
Ken does.
Ken, you have two.
I do. So two for the Spanish Moss Trail. The first was kids in parks. So that's their, as you recall, participation, kind of a larger effort to, encourage kids and their families to spend time outdoors. So we can start, and then the second was really, I believe, pure marketing, right? Additional marketing for awareness, which they use, public relations, and they use some digital marketing. I'm new or much newer to the area than most of you, but the data that they showed, which a lot of which comes from the CVB, seems credible. This is an important attraction and draws people here that don't, from out of town and far enough out of town where it's reasonable to assume they may stay in a hotel and spend other money while they're here. I think it's an important attraction. I would be in favor of supporting it. I'd be interested if anybody agrees, and if so, do they think those dollar amounts are right?
I think it's a great attraction. I support it. I'd like to separate the two items a little bit. The Kids in Park initiative is funded by Blue Cross Blue Shield. It's intended to get kids off the screens and outside doing stuff. I'm not so sure they're going to achieve that with this objective, but they had the Kids in Park folks came down, and the county parks rec staff and Friends of Spanish Moss Trail and a couple other folks met with them out at Burton Wells. And so this is an objective that could extend around the county. I'd like for us to go ahead and support them if we can in the Kids in Parks, so that we can look at how we can do that at other parks as well, because I think it would be pretty important. And some folks feel like we probably need to have a little more activity for our younger folks as opposed to our older folks, and many of the visitors people bring children with them. So I agree with you. Do you recommend we do it at the full amount, Ken?
Given the proceeds we have, yes.
Okay, given the proceeds we have shouldn't be the consideration. My question is 10,000 administrative costs, 5,500 digital program for current media. I mean, we've given them a lot of money for media and promotion in the past, every single year. They got some giant amount of money from our foundation. I think we need to be judicious. And they want brochures.
Yeah, I would suggest give them half of it, really cut it in half, because of the money that you like paying somebody, so half.
I suggest we just cut the 10,000 for administrative costs, because that's Sissy's salary,
Yes,
and she's been there for a while.
yes.
And they informed us at the meeting, they're getting lots of requests for rentals of their buildings. And so that's an income source. So rather than cut it all in half, I think we need to support marketing, support brochures, and remove the 10,000 for administrative.
I think that's for 20.
That's for
They asked for 20.
220s.
Oh, there's 2 20s.
Mm-hmm.
They want 40,000 actually.
Mm-hmm.
That was just,
I mean,
So I think Dick, does that end up with 10,000 for one grant and 20 for the other, for 30 total?
Yeah, but in our verbiage, we explained to them, we cut the admin stuff and the other things so that when they send their receipts in, they have to satisfy that requirement. Now, I also would suggest that we put in our verbiage that the Kids in Park initiative is a broad-based initiative looking to get that achieved across the Southeast, and that we would like to see that expanded into other areas around the county. Not because we expect them to do that, but because if Kids in Park is going to be a focus, it can be Spanish Moss Trail, it can be Burton Wells, it can be Bluffton Regional Park, we can have that grow as a program.
from my understanding, they have submitted two on the application. Maybe I'm wrong. Isn't part of it for extending the trail?
They received $2.5 million from the
$2
state, and they got about, I think, another 600,000 from the Cox family to do that.
Mhm.
But we don't need to, we're not funding that.
Yeah.
but my question is promoting the trail. They do that every year.
Mhm.
So why do they need 20,000 for their second grant?
That,
They already have them. It says to create a new media campaign. They already have one.
I think they need to do promotional stuff and media campaigns to expire or something.
$20,000 worth.
Well,
This is a well-funded group and every year ATEX funds them plenty.
When I said 10 before, I meant 10 here, 10 there. Cut each one in half. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Yeah, 10, 10, 10. Like you said, there's a lot of money going out there. Yeah,
it is a lot of money, but it is not necessarily a lot of money for marketing and advertising. Just, I mean, it's when you're trying to expand out to a larger reach, what more funds allows you to do is either, extend your reach, right, to a broader audience that you think would be relevant, willing to come in, and there's plenty for here, right? We are a fantastic drive-to destination for lots of major markets, right? That still don't know enough about us.
Well,
And that's expensive to reach that.
And I
agree
think this is to market the children's side of the trail, which I think much in more families, and so.
I agree with Ken, and I also will mention too that one of the reasons I think they've been successful in getting these millions of dollars from the state and people like the Cox family is because there's a strong sense of community support, and that trail is intended to extend from the Sands Beach in Port Royal, eventually all the way to I-95, where we'll join another trail. Getting additional capital money coming from other sources to expand that stuff happens partially because of the promotion and the utility usefulness of this trail. So I think we ought to have some confidence to encourage them to grow and get to do these things. And if we need next year to look at their receipts and see if we're getting the bang that we want for this, I'm happy to do that. But I support giving them the $20,000 for general marketing and the $10,000 for kids in parks, but not the $10,000 for the administrative.
So I wrote that Mr. Moss said, quote, "This will not bring additional people here."
If they keep them here longer.
That's all it says. He said, since tourists already come, we'll not bring additional people.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
yeah, because the trail is already established and people know, but you just make it longer and it's not gonna bring more people in to use it.
Well, I'm not suggesting I'm bringing them in,
Yeah.
but I am suggesting that I own a hotel and we have 8 bicycles we let the guests, and I know that the request to increase that number to 16 because guests are taking a bicycle trying to Spanish Moss Trail. I don't know if they're staying extra day or not, but if they're that many. I also need Vermont bicycle tours come to Beaufort County, and they've been adding an extra trip each year, and that brings 30 people in and stay overnight and they ride bicycles. That's just my personal knowledge about it from the hotel business. I don't know what other people are experiencing, but
Stephen, what about you?
Yeah, my interpretation of that statement was he was trying to be somewhat humble and not as presumptuous to say that this is the reason they're coming, right? The trail, but that it's one of the reasons, right? Amongst, like, anytime you pick a destination, right? There's a variety of things you might look at, and this is an important amenity that people need to realize is here, so that it's in the context of their travel decision.
yeah, and I think it is a reason people stay extra nights.
Sure.
Definitely, well, the administrative costs, yes. Can we, out of the other 30, can we circle back to see afterwards what we've allocated? And if there's money left, then we can entertain the other 10.
I'm trying to move us off of that.
Yeah.
It's a funded project.
We're not. Right.
Don't, just because we have money doesn't mean
Yeah.
We can circle back. And
you can
discuss
circle
it.
back. So we're leaving number 3 open, right? Number 2, you said 10,000? I'm sorry.
Yeah. 2,
2, and number 3 is open. Okay.
circle back, yeah.
You okay with that, Ken?
Can you state that one more time to make sure I'm clear?
What the consensus apparently is that we're going to be looking at 10 for the first request, removing the admin, 20 for the second request, but we're not going to vote on that. We're going to discuss that at the end.
Sounds good.
Did I get that right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, who's got this one?
That's me, Kevin. Yeah, I was in doing, and looking at application and presentation. And this is a, art is always a most worthy cause. I would suggest the funding for 40, go with that. I don't see any, I see that this brings in, even though it was clear that the arts center is on Hilton Head, but it's still the whole county, and it will bring in income. So I would say support and approve this $40,000. Discussion?
How many of the folks you think coming into those plays are staying in hotels and eating in restaurants in the unincorporated area? I don't have an answer.
I don't think no one is, but we looking at the areas of looking at the funding coming in. I think that's a question I had this morning when we came. So if that's the case, then it's the whole entire area.
So the Art Center of Coastal Carolina, a few years ago, was getting $2.5 million a year from the town of Hilton Head. Do you know how much they're being funded these
No,
days?
sir. No, sir.
212,000, they said in their application.
Yeah, that's from the ATAC component.
That's ATAX of Hilton.
And if they received that, I think they have.
And Marie also questioned the heavy traffic is snowbirds in summer, but they have no data for people staying anywhere off the island. That was Marie asked.
So you think we should give them the full amount?
Well, I said this discussion, that's what I think, because arts is important, and they do bring people in. I don't know if they put beds here or not, but people do come, and school children get opportunity to see the artwork and this marketing strategy, so as well with now what's going to happen, what they can do with the monies. But my question, rack cards and bush shorts.
Ken, Anita, you guys
Well,
look thoughtful up there.
30, take 10 off.
Anita, what say you?
Well, I know from just working with some of the tour groups that come to Hilton Head, a lot of times they bring those groups over to Beaufort. Even though they may stay in Hilton Head, they come over to Beaufort and they spend a half a day. One of the companies I used to work for was Talk, TAUCK, and I knew that every Monday they brought a busload over to Beaufort. So we do get some of that overflow. I'm in agreement with giving them the 40,000. I don't have a problem with that.
Ken, what do you think?
I'm just looking through some of the notes here. I think I'd be more inclined to the 30. I mean, it's a big award. It's not, it's hard to imagine that the vast majority of this tourism spend is going to be on Hilton Head, or Bluffton. But that being said, it's still, it sounds like Anita's got, anecdotal evidence that people do come here, and their notes suggest that some come here, but they don't really have good data around that. So, 30 is still a very big award.
Did they get an award on the first go round of applications?
There's a good question. I don't have that.
I don't remember. I know we were no on Symphony, right? But I don't remember for this group.
So they mentioned in their application, they have 166,000 people last year. 29% were farther than 50 miles.
Maybe, but it's clearly an authorized award for promoting the arts and culture. It's just a matter of how much the committee wants to value the arts and culture in awarding the grants and what.
We gave it last time. I don't know.
We did not give it in cycle one.
Did they apply for it in that?
Let me- I do not believe that they applied. I think with them, they, missed the application with them.
Okay, so this is the first go around, so that's.
What about Spanish Plus? Did they apply and get anything in round one? We forgot to ask.
They did.
They did.
They did.
They got 10,000 or 20,000.
For what?
For what?
Media.
And was that the full award? Did they get everything they asked for?
I should double check that.
I think so.
As of right now, was for digital and social media marketing campaign. They have only spent the first half,
But they got it how much?
20,000.
Isn't that what number 3 is? Digital marketing campaign costs?
Yes.
I think we need to look back at what was given last year. We should need to have that information to.
Well, this is round 1 of it.
I know, but round and we need to have it look at.
So,
To get better in our decision making.
so for purposes of the conversation, we're gonna talk about that when we get to the end. That relates to the Art Center of Coastal Carolina. Used to, we got a fairly large request for them. I think it's been metering down over the years. The fact that they didn't apply in the first round has probably to do with some internal issues going on. I'm okay with giving them something. I sort of want to carve back their request a little bit because over time, there's every reason we can kind of wean them out of this pool and encourage them to focus primarily on Hilton Head. And I say that because whatever amount of money we have to distribute is a fraction of what Hilton Head has to distribute for the organization. And I'll also ask any of you here, if you have seen any marketing efforts to try to bring people to their performances on the aisle. I get lots of stuff and I just don't hear from them.
Well, the question is, are they advertising locally or externally to try to draw them in?
Well, they're both of those, and they should be doing both because the people that are here visiting are also the people that can stay an extra day and go to a performance or schedule a time to come back for that. So while you're correct about 50 miles away, our DMO is really the charging party to bring them into town. And these other parties are also a part of keeping them here.
Absolutely. I'm just making the point as far as maybe the committee can encourage them to promote both ways and then tell you how they're doing that.
Absolutely.
So can we come back to this one at the end and
No, I would agree with the 8,000. I would agree with that instead of come back.
It says they market worldwide.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
They did provide a heat map in their,
Yeah.
application.
Yeah.
They did.
And it was,
I could live with 30,000.
You know, so the encouraging to go both ways. And I've been saying for some time, we need to help make the event successful, not only to get heads and beds, but to locally, the local people would like to go to something like that if they knew. So if they start advertising locally, that would help encourage people from this side going over on Hilton as well.
is that the role of the ATAX committee to do that?
Well, that's what we just mentioned, that we can encourage.
I think we can, okay. Well, so we'll discuss that when we get to the end.
You'll come back.
Can you come back to that one too?
All the ones we said, I thought what we said was if we're recommending any funding, we're gonna wait till the end to talk about it all the time. It's just if we're saying no funding. That's what I thought we said. I'm not trying to control it.
We said we're not gonna do any allocation now. We're gonna come back at the end and do the allocation once we have discussion.
Mr. Chairman, that's what I thought we
That's what we
said.
said.
I thought we were okay to vote if we felt like there's consensus, and if not, we can double back for continued discussion. I thought I was hearing a fair amount of consensus there on 30 for this one. Maybe I wasn't.
All right, so Ken, do you want to do them one at a time as we get to them, or do you want to do the discussion at the end where we?
I think we try to go one at a time as we go.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. There were papers falling. What? Did you say that again?
I see we try to go one at a time if we feel like there's consensus. I thought we motioned on the airport, right? And made a decision on the airport on number one?
Yeah, but the motion that Dick made was to try to determine which ones you're gonna cut out enough fund to make it easier and then come back and circle
Ah.
back. That was his motion.
I got you. I misunderstood.
I'm happy to change that if that's the will of the group. I'm not trying to control it.
No, that's fine. That, I have no problem with that. I just misunderstood. So let's keep going and we'll come back. So we're only, if it's a hard no, then we make that decision going.
We can, for clarity, we can go to every last one and come back and make the allocation.
Got it.
That's what you're saying?
Your initial determination is determine fund or not fund. If
Okay.
you want, if someone wants to fund them,
Okay.
then you'll come back and discuss what to fund.
Okay. All right.
And
Okay.
so we're not,
Five.
Beaufort area.
So we're off to the Beaufort Area Hospitality Association.
Yes.
This is Stephen.
Yeah, that's one that I did. It seems, number one, it's a fairly new, very new activity that they're asking to help. Pardon?
We funded it in the past.
I think this is their second time doing it.
Mhm.
what are they using the money for?
The New Year's Eve fireworks celebration.
Right. Which is lower demand time frame, right? Need more visitors.
It looks like some of the other activity kind of helped to influence this, but I don't see a reason why we shouldn't, even though it's kind of new. The numbers that they gave us were percentage wise of, without knowing what numbers, where the numbers came from, kind of hard to look at what percentage of increase they're bringing. But is there anyone here that's familiar with, you see a whole lot of traffic coming into Beaufort for New Year's Eve?
I see people that are staying here for New Year's Eve, whether it's because of the fireworks or not, I don't know. But I do know that populars, I don't know if they're coming for that reason or if they're already here, but we can ask them, but if people go for fireworks and staying in a hotel somewhere, I don't know.
My recommendation is that we do go ahead.
I agree.
Okay. Want to put that on the list to talk about at the end? Is there anybody that has a different opinion?
That's really kind of done.
Anita, did she weigh in?
I'm good.
Okay, so it's 20,000.
20,000.
And now that brings us to the Port Wall Sand Foundation, and my wife is on this board, so I will participate in this conversation.
That's mine as well. Basically, what they're asking for is a safety improvement. If that, I definitely agree that it needs to be safe.
But-
Now, whether that is something that ATAX is charged with, the money from ATAX is charged with, facilities. That's where my question comes in.
One of the categories is construction, maintenance, and operation of facilities for civic and cultural activities, including construction and maintenance of access and other nearby roads and utilities for the facilities.
Then I would say yes.
Yes.
We gave them something in October 2024.
Yes, but it was not for,
It was
it
marketed,
was,
37,000.
What's the organization behind it?
yeah, tourism marketing campaign, they got 37,000.
So you first have to determine, is it a civic or cultural activity?
Yes.
Well, we gave them money, but not only for marketing, wasn't there outside benches and some other stuff in there? Some other stuff. Okay, but is it cultural?
But yeah, I definitely in agreement for the renovations because we do not want what happened in Sapelo Island
To fall.
to happen at our Maritime Center. If we can prevent it.
And under the guideline, that's acceptable to use the funds for.
It's actually saying it's replacing rails and a roof at the dock,
At the dock?
because they do boat tours.
If it's at the dock, then yes.
That's
Yes.
what it said, I think that's what I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Did he get funding before?
Yes,
How much?
37,000 in cycle one for marketing. And then in cycle of the 2023-2024, they received $20,000 for their greenhouse exhibit. And they have spent that with and provided.
You know what could be good for the future is if we track the ones that apply all the time and see what we're giving them. I know that's more work, but
This is the benefit of one of those reviews where you look at what they've got.
yes, but we could easily track, Marie gets it every round,
Right.
you know.
I can definitely share my report with y'all.
Especially if there's gonna be multiple rounds of, grant awards.
Right.
Yes, I think we should stick to one.
But with many,
I agree.
This has been
So,
kind of a headache.
Okay, go ahead.
so we're gonna agree on now, 52,000?
This is
I
a
bet we're really months at
nonprofit,
the end.
Okay.
this is a nonprofit organization, right? The
Yes,
foundation?
yeah.
The motion was to either award or not award, then discuss the amount to award at the end. Come back there the second time.
Okay, so we're not just Historic Mitchell Mills?
You're on the seven.
We just Beaufort Museum,
Even History Museum now.
Oh, sorry.
the History Museum. Yeah,
That was, and
Neither.
they were talking about repairs as well.
They were talking about improving that staircase and then $60,000 for a marketing campaign to be run by a firm out of Greenville.
Yep.
And I asked him if he had talked to Rob over at the CVB about doing that marketing for him. He indicated that he would, and he did that the next day. I know the CVB is happy to help them, but I don't see a reason to pay $60,000 to a Greenville. The question I posed is sort of how much marketing and activity for the History Museum is appropriate given the quality of the experience. And all of their tickets are sold by the CVB because you have to pass through the CVB to get in there.
Mhm.
I will also tell you, that, as you know, I'm county representative on the CVB board. The CVB occupies the arsenal and as part of an agreement with the city and leased space in the arsenal to the Gullah Geechee Coalition for $1,500 a month. They have, under new leadership, surrendered that space. They're going to have offices in a number of places, but not there. And the History Museum has come in and proposed to pay $200 a month for the same space. And that's probably not appropriate for what's in the best interest of the CVB and the city. But the fact that he's sitting right there as part of the CVB family of activities and doing things and hadn't asked Rob to help him with marketing makes me a little concerned. So my personal thing is I think they need to do some marketing. I think it needs to be less of this. We'll make it absolutely requirement that CVB manage that marketing report just for that.
I'm in agreement with that. And the renovations, whatever renovations is what I thought about.
But what he wanted to do is improve the back staircase, and the back staircase only goes to that office that he's proposing to rent for practically nothing. I think that's one of those senses of entitlement, and it's not our job to fix that for them. If they're gonna rent space to do stuff, they got volunteers. The city offers off artwork to help them fund their activities. The city's got ATAC dollars. I don't think we need to be dealing with that staircase. I think they need to fix their exhibits, and I say that because I'm a little frustrated with them. I've been there 3 times in the last several years. The exhibits have never changed. One time the docent didn't show up that day, so they opened it so we could go through, and the other time the docent was reading the book and didn't raise his head and speak to anybody. So it's, there's a little work to be done there.
A lot of work.
Did they apply last room?
yes, they got,
I think we need to, I'm sorry.
for cycle one, they received $750 for social media funding for Beaufort History Museum Revolutionary War Day. And then in the last year's cycle, they received $4,200 for promoting new Beaufort History Museum. But both of those, with the way that we awarded these funds, we only award half, and then they proved to us that they use it the correct way. They haven't requested the second half.
So they've documented the proper expenditure of the first half either then.
No,
So there's that. Okay.
That's all sort of consistent with what's going on there.
I don't know if they forgot that they have it, or Because I don't send reminders about that.
We may need to consider sending reminders if you haven't got the invoices documented, because we have a duty to make sure that they're properly expended.
Well, I'd be happy to put that in the verbal aspect of it. I'm willing to give these guys something like 10,000, 15,000 for
Right,
absolute marketing campaign, absolutely run about the CVB.
right,
Right.
right.
I like that.
Well, you
Even
said-
though they
you
haven't
said
justified
50,
that they spent the last
10,000.
marketing sentence.
Yeah. In my scenario, what's happened there, I think, is they had a fruit basket turnover at the board. So they just probably haven't done their paperwork. You don't know what they're doing with it, just like this other stuff.
Just want to make sure we justify the Turk and,
Yeah. I don't think we're rewarding them for their mismanagement. We're continuing to challenge them to manage themselves better.
Okay.
But we haven't issued any checks for those reimbursements because they haven't done it either, right?
Correct.
well, they got half the money, so it's gotten,
All right, well, I suggest we put in the verbiage here that, provide this money unless they provide proof of where they spent those. That would be great.
that until they've shown that they spent the last one
Yes.
and documented it.
Yep.
All right, so we'll come back for the amount.
I think that's what we said all the time.
Yeah, so I put a question on that.
Everything, you just talk and then we'll come back and make awards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. In the future, if we have someone who has applied in the past and has not fulfilled their obligations with documents and stuff, it'd be good to know that when that percentage, if it's possible. Okay, so now we're at the historic mention zone program. Their Juneteenth and their Christmas celebrations is what they're looking to support. The organization is growing pretty rapidly. I think the town spent, maybe 10 days about the property. They received a few $1 million in investment to build buildings.
Excuse me, the town literally ended up spending maybe 2 million because green space covered it.
Since green space.
Green space, the penny tax, I think we kicked in 11 million. Huh? Yeah. It was a $12 million purchase and we paid 11 or something.
We talk about Mitchellville?
Yeah,
Yeah, we covered the cost of that.
and they owned it.
I think we covered the full cost of that.
We were at $1 million short. We did 3 appraisals, remember that
Yeah,
nonsense?
they came back and got the difference or whatever.
So Hilton Head owns it.
Right.
Well,
$4 million.
I'm intrigued by the idea that rural and critical land produce something that's going to be an active park.
No, this is green space, the
Well, that's
penny
the new
tax. Well, it's over now, but there's $100 million.
That purchase is over, but green space is still going. We've got $100 million.
$100 million.
By property conserved within the county.
Yeah, well, my scenario in this is that the Juneteenth celebration and the Christmas-like celebration is nice, but I'm not sure those aren't fund generators as opposed to expenses, but
Wait a minute, you jumped to Mitchellville. What'd you do at number 8, Gullah Traveling Theater?
No, Mitchellville, we are on Mitchellville now.
Yeah, but what'd you do with
Oh,
8?
it's because they presented before, we jumped out of order whenever we did the
Yeah.
presentation.
Oh,
So
I
the
understand.
agenda-
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're correct.
All right, Mitchellville.
so, I'd like to do something to encourage these folks, but I think this is one of those cases where they think focusing on events is the only thing we're interested in here. But I'm happy to have a Juneteenth event. I'm happy to have Christmas lights, but I'm not so excited about the amount of money that's required to support it.
So they asked for $190,000 from Hilton Head. I believe they got it.
Yep.
Weren't they in last year's round?
Last year's, not last cycle.
What did we give them last year?
35,000, and I want to say last week they just submitted their, final report for that.
What was the 35,000 for these same 2 events?
Marketing, site preparation, and design for Juneteenth celebration.
There you go.
Have they used the rest of the money already?
Yes.
Okay.
And it is growing.
Want to discuss it at the end?
It is growing. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this,
Now we're dollar traveling.
Sorry.
Okay. Now, the Gullah Traveling Theater.
I recuse myself.
Okay. Yeah, this was in conjunction coordination with the larger revolutionary celebration, right? They appear to be well coordinated there, with the unique play. And this would be obviously the first time they would be doing this, right, with this particular play, right? And as you recall, there's multiple presentations throughout the county that would be occurring here. So this would fund the ability to, for that aspects of that play to occur, which, I mean, to me, seem like a great endeavor that people will be interested in. It's a special angle and part of the story of the revolutionary experience. And there'll be, I'm guessing a lot of people interested in learning about the overall revolutionary experience, and this would be something that would be of particular interest. So I'm in favor of supporting this endeavor.
Let's discuss it in the end, unless somebody wants to discuss it more now.
Oh, well, I have that in the last round. In October, one of you guys said that they don't present a budget. They were to return leftover dollars. Did they do that?
They had to do that in order to.
Did they do it? Okay, and they have to do a full P&L from Declaration Day event. Remember Jonathan talked about this? They don't present that.
What do you mean by that?
It was a long-standing problem Jonathan had.
I thought she said it was forthcoming. Did she ever submit that part? She said it was forthcoming.
I think just the specific
Yeah,
event.
yeah,
I think they're
yeah.
talking about them as a whole.
We're not gonna go back if you don't country on this one they're asking for now, right?
We're gonna talk about it at the end of the session.
Yeah, okay, well,
Yeah, they have to do their.
so I would read the funding and discuss it then, okay. Okay. Okay.
You make sure that you keep track of who's recused themselves in which discussion and they felt the conflict of interest form.
It's notified, oh, they're on the right.
Yeah, it's already noted.
So we're now at the Hilton Head Symphony.
That's me, yeah. And they said 15 minutes break, I understand. That's really.
That's right.
I got to leave, what's the lady's name, Alan? Yes.
We denied this the first round, right?
We did.
I believe so.
What
They
the
were
re-
upset.
Did we give a reason for denial, or we just denied it? Based on,
They're nice folks and we like them. That's a great thing, but we didn't think it brought any people or kept any people in the area.
Right.
We also thought it was primarily Hilton Head Symphony. Now, this time they're talking about having promotions in the park, that's free. They're also talking about promotions at Bluffton, which is not in the unincorporated area, but they are talking about in different areas. I personally think they should be encouraged to perform in various venues around the county. Just
if that's the case, should we deny it completely or give them a little bit, 10?
Well, they asked for materials in hotels. The Marriott draws most of their tourists. They book rooms for their artists and judges and musicians at the Marriott. They want screens at the airport. They will do outdoor concerts at Celebration Park on the island and in Bluffton during the Seafood Festival. They need an audience of 1,200 to 1,400 to break even for a performance.
They won't be booking people into the Marriott anymore.
Okay.
The Marriott got sold to the Hilton. It's
Oh,
not that.
wow.
Well, that's where they book their people.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff combined doesn't produce much except having them perform in various venues around the county. Does have some benefit, I think. And the issue of 1,200 is if they're having paid tickets, that's where they think they reach a break even. But there isn't a venue for many of those spaces where you can do that sort of inside venues in the county.
Waterfront Park here in Beaufort.
Well, inside venues, you can do outside, but they don't normally charge tickets for the outside one, but you could do it in Waterfront Park. You can do it in a number of places.
Well, the outdoor concerts are at Celebration Park
And it's Bluffton.
and Bluffton at the Seafood Festival outside.
I mean,
So nothing's stopping them from coming to Waterfront Park. It's the same.
Yeah, I'm not debating that. I'm just saying 1,200 is a break even. I assume they're selling tickets
There are some tickets, he said.
Yeah.
to the outside events.
no,
That's celebration.
but I recall the outside events being complimentary.
Yeah, that was my understanding. That was free.
It's your performance.
Yeah. It would be great to know, I mean, that production cost, right? I mean, to me, what I recall from the last time we talked about this, and it's a criteria that applies kind of to all of them, is, what's the probability of of this generating additional any tax revenue for Defusky or the northern part of the county. And we didn't think this one would. It would sure be nice if they would propose to, do an additional incremental event or move one of their events to Waterfront Park or somewhere like that, and how much money they would need to basically, pull that off, right? If it was going to be free.
Yeah.
Because that would seem like, that would be an exciting thing to work with, RCBB and Baja to promote and run, and that could be a big winner, a big win-win. It would seem like we'd want to encourage them to think about that and resubmit with a project like that.
Well, I think we could allocate funding conditioned upon them using it for outdoor concert series, not just where they're doing it now, but in additional parts of the county, and let them come back to us and tell us where. If they don't do it, we don't fund it.
Mhm.
They do it, produce the revenue, then they get the money.
Then that would give them recommendation in order to get the money on. We do that, right?
You have to remember that this money that you're obligated right now is halfway through the first year of the 2-year commitment. And if you make it conditional, you may have difficulty spending it down the road.
Why don't, you could also just tell them you can apply next round in November and plan for something in Beaufort.
Right.
In other words, you're giving them constructive feedback instead of saying, we'll give it to you and do it. There's no guarantee they can do it in a year and a half.
Either north of Broad or south of Broad, but that will attract the tourists from the rural part of the county to the event.
So I'm clear, can awards be provided conditional around something like, we would provide this should you add an event in different parts of the county, something like that?
Well, being that they have to cite the years and have the years going already, it's based on next year, not this year, would it be?
How about if we do this, if we provide some amount of money and not condition it upon them doing something else in the county, but encourage them to do more events around the county to cause people to stay later and do that without telling them where that needs to be. Because if Defusky wants to have something on Defusky to do something, if there's some other event or activity, if we put a bandstand in Burtwell Park and they want to do something out there under the airplanes, that's a decision for them to make.
That's a good idea as far as you give them something now, but tell them, hey, you can get a bigger grant if you
That's right.
target this in the future.
They may want to come out to Fripp Island and do some event out there, Ken.
Sure, yeah, we'd
Which
love
would be
that,
great.
of
We
course.
can reward the Fripp Island people.
Yeah, because they don't get anything.
So we'll discuss that at the end, some amount of money, not to require them to do other events around the county, but to encourage them. And they're looking for ways to work with us, although I'm not sure they would describe it quite like that.
Well, love that idea.
Their series is set for this year, so they're gonna have to use it next year for sure,
Okay.
Mhm.
right? Because they have a 2-year window.
Yes.
Well, you have to look at what they applied for, and they used it for what they applied for. So whatever the application is for is what you're giving the grant.
Well, they didn't apply for anything outside of. No. They applied for Bluffton and Shelter Cove.
Okay, so then that's what the funds will be used for. You're approving that grant. What Dick was talking about was giving them the idea as far as apply again in the future with other events, and we'll give you a larger grant.
Include that in the dialogue.
Well, that's what I said, but I was leaning toward giving them nothing and then saying you can apply next round if you bring it around the county. You're not, they're clear what their performances are set.
But you just, for the committee to decide what they're gonna recommend, I'm just telling you, be cautious about how much time they have to spend it and make sure that the grant is for what they've asked for.
Okay. So we're going to discuss that one at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And all of them.
That's the plan.
Okay, Karen, what's the next one? USCB.
This is kind of after the fact funding, because I think the event was in February, March.
Oh, this is the one?
That's one. Yeah. I see no reason to refuse them this one. The me, it's kind of something they do bring.
Well, if they came to you ahead of time, would you fund it? Look at it from that perspective.
Might have funded the media campaign.
Did it break out to say how much was actually for?
Media,
Yeah.
10,005. They got 15,000 Donnelly Foundation, 21,179 South Carolina Arts Commission. So this one was in March.
They do a good job on the money that they get, whether we're a part of that mix or these other folks are part of the mix. I know they're gonna be successful. Donnelly and the Arts Commission.
Yeah.
They need to see some local support. Now, they applied for something in the city of Beaufort, I think. And I don't think they know yet if they're gonna get it.
Here's my concern. My concern is that it's after the fact, as you pointed out. And is Turk going to allow something after the fact when they're not out there now advertising, promoting tourism to come here? They've already expended these funds. And if Turk disagrees with us, then it's the county paying for it out of the general fund to make it up.
They didn't apply in round one, right?
No.
So,
Well, saying you already had it. You already spent this money for it, so is it gonna be used for reimbursement if we can't do so?
Well, they clearly had the money because they paid for it. So now why are they asking for a grant to pay for something that they had the money for? That's, I'm just telling you what Turk's gonna ask, and I don't know how they'll rule. I'm just telling you the concern. And if we lose that argument, then the general fund is gonna have to make up a difference to the taxpayers.
so that's a portion what Mr. Green said. It was already done.
It's after the fact, tax, so.
I think we probably should ask Turk, make a condition about Turk telling us we can do reimbursement. We can just ask them. That work.
We can try. We can make that recommendation.
Reimbursement.
I also don't want to open the door to make this a standard kind of thing.
Right.
Can't do it for one and not the next and the next and the
Well,
next.
the problem I have with the reimbursement thing is that in recent years, the county cycle has moved. An organization had committed funds and they had to cancel rooms, cancel events, cancel performances and other stuff. Or they had to find ways to fund those and then hope the county cycle would catch up and reimburse them for things that they would normally have done. There's another one coming up here where they borrowed it out of their capital funds and did it.
Mhm.
So I don't want to get into a situation where next year, say something happens and the county decides we're going to be 90 days later than usual. And people start saying, all right, I need to be planning 2 years out because I can't count on these folks in the
Well,
current.
they could have applied in October.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not suggesting.
Yeah, that's a different story.
I could make a good argument as far as if it's because of the county's actions that they couldn't get the funding and the grant ahead of time, as opposed to they just didn't even come in and ask for it. And now they came in after the fact asking for reimbursement.
Yeah, those are two different things.
I'll be asking for reimbursement. I'll be asking, this has to be funded, but you're asking to fund it to something that's been done already. That's how I'm looking at it.
But also they applied before the event.
They applied before. Okay,
It was just, I mean, that is, if it was in March, these applications were due what, at the end of January?
No, but I'm saying they didn't apply in the October. round.
Oh, yeah,
That's
sure,
sure.
correct.
I mean, they know applying in January, you're not gonna get it for March.
Oh, so they applied before the event occurred, you're saying?
I believe so.
At the end
Because
of
the
January.
applications were due whenever. it
Whatever,
was.
I want to.
Just because we were so long coming to the meeting. All right, I can make a better argument on that.
And it's, the key question is what you asked earlier. If it was not after the fact, would we? But, and I would say yes.
I'm just throwing things out.
I'd like to say something on behalf of,
Go ahead.
who do these events. This money is generated through the events that are happening, that bring people here to stay in these beds. And they do that. So I would think that, these are the kind of organizations we want to support because they're doing these events that bring tourists here. And they've done that. The fact that it's taken us longer to give the funds is not anything in their control. So I think we need to give these organizations, because they're struggling to keep stuff, making Beaufort the one of the best little artsy town in the nation. And so they need the funds.
I agree with that. I mean, it seems like, especially particularly since they applied before the event was after the, application deadline seems.
It takes a lot to produce these things.
I think we created an expectation in people's minds that when we accepted application in January, the process would have been completed significantly before April. And as a result, some of these activities that they planned at that time, they've already had to fund. Not because of some activity on their part, but just a reasonable expectation that the process was going to happen faster than that would happen.
Did you do the meeting for this one? Who did the meeting? Because when Jonathan did the ones in October, he was clear, you don't get any funds, don't plan on spending it till you get the letter, because it's got to go through council and everything else. Who did this meeting for these people?
Who did it? We met with them.
The meeting they had to come to, remember that?
Bonnie Harbour was there.
No, who led the workshop?
I did. For the
Okay,
second.
yeah, so like Jonathan made it clear, don't plan on spending funds till it's approved, blah, blah, blah. And when did you do the workshop? February.
Number 4, I believe, was
It was
it?
in December, well before the application. We had a December 4th application in January. Everybody thought we would make decisions in February.
So application window was from December 2nd to January 15th. The workshop for this go around was December 4th.
Mhm.
And we accepted people who went to the other workshops as well. They didn't have to come to this one, but so they had up until.
So the expectation is we'd have our application in January 15th, we would make a decision in February.
Why would they ever expect that? Because your recommendation goes to finance and to council.
No,
Let me say,
I'm
can I
talking about
say
our
something?
recommendation. I'm talking about,
Anita.
Yeah,
go ahead.
right, this stuff used to be done in October. And by January, people knew that they had their money.
Mhm.
This long process, us having to come back, this is new. And so.
Well, you did have an application process in
They
the
didn't
fall.
apply.
Right. I'm saying before, because I've been on this, I don't know how long have you been on this thing, Dick? But
Guys,
we used to meet
Where you-
one time, make that decision on that same day, and within a couple of months, folks had their monies. And so now it's been like, this is past 6 months. So if you're an arts organization like Bonnie and those are, you can't wait until January to set up your calendar. So again, we have to work with these organizations to keep them encouraged, to keep doing stuff, to keep bringing people here so that we have these funds to even give out.
Yeah, but Tab's point is that they should have applied in the fall and they probably would have had better consideration. They missed that application process apparently, and now they're coming in after the fact. And yes, they came in at a time where they would have hoped it would have been before the event, but you, as she said, you can't count your chickens before they're hatched is the message that you've been trying to get out the last 2 years. And here, they took the risk to spend it. Now it's up to the committee and then up to councils to whether or not to come in and reimburse them or not. But just make sure everybody understands all the information and the facts clearly in making their recommendation and decision.
Got it.
We,
Understood.
well, do we need to make a thing that we keep them on the list to fund them? And we'll.
I heard that people did want to fund them, so I think they stay on the list.
Yes, I do.
I do. I want to fund them.
Anita, you're up with the Carolina bike birding thing.
I tell you, she had a lot of enthusiasm, and I think it's a good thing because that's a outdoor recreation and stuff like that seems to be a uptrend, and it's an easy. I mean, we have everything that we need to continue to promote that kind of tourism growth. So I'm all for funding her program.
I'm recused on this one.
The person applying for this grant, for the funding?
No, we gave them 1,500 last year. But what we said was it's a good time because it's the fall. It's not a busy tourist time, so to bring people in that would stay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm in favor of some level of funding here for sure.
And they work with the CBB, they're their fiscal agent.
Okay, I heard a couple of people said they wanted to fund them, so,
Yeah, the 4,200.
well, they're better than you don't see it, they're just.
Yes.
42,000.
1,000? Okay, yeah, so, wait a minute, so they had 97 people last year. They're hoping to get to 400. They pay speakers, their lodging, their planes, tables, chairs, bathrooms. 42,000, I have 4,200.
Yes.
They can't, the funds can't be used for hotel lodging.
Yes, that's what
It can for your entertainment.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they had, oh, that, I know why this one rings a bell. There was no budget on there, literally no attachments. It was the application and nothing else. There's 2 documents in there. Did you all see that? I couldn't write anything down. Did anything have any?
This is something that goes through you, Bryce.
Yes, I'm pulling it up now. They provided their application and then the attachment it's like a slideshow that has grant funding requests in it and all of their information. Like,
Yeah, they had a slideshow, yeah.
There were numbers.
Mhm.
42,000, I missed that. I missed the
Their
zero.
total, so they have 17,000 funding to attract a large draw keynote speaker, 10,000 for keynote speaker dinner, closing event, presentation, 15,000 for rental of events, and then
Is there any other funding source, or are they just relying on ATAX funds?
They just hit us up.
I'm not.
My family's donated 30,000 to answer your question. Guy named Sidley that does all the bird books is their keynote speaker.
Mhm. Felt like he was a very
Anyway,
renowned.
I heard fun, so you can talk about it further.
Yeah, because the question will be, is it a good return on investment if they get less than 400 people? She said they'll have less than 400.
You can look at it, in my opinion, not the 42,000. It said 42,000, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I missed the zero.
Yeah. Well, let's keep
All right,
going.
so that's a comeback.
Let's keep going and we'll come back on the award amount.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Henry Clay.
Henry Clay. Dick.
Anita.
Oh, no, it's Anita, I'm sorry.
Smoke.
Oh, no, that's you, Dick.
I
Right?
thought that was you, Dick. Henry.
Yeah, this is the basketball tournament.
Yes.
Oh, did that change to me?
Changed to you.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sorry. She does not have any fields committed that she can have tournaments at. She got in touch with me and asked me if I could convince the school to let her have tryouts at a place she had tryouts last year, and that they're resisting having them this year. And I said, do you think they're resisting them because they know you're going to come back if you have tryouts and tell people you need to use their space to have a tournament? And she said, well, maybe that's the reason. And so, and then, as you'll recall, I asked what's the relationship between the smoke group and this group, and it was a little unclear. And then about 30 minutes after our meeting, I think most of us got an email from her where she cut her request in half just because of the feedback she got during the meeting. She stopped me in the parking lot and told me she was going to be sending that, and she sent it. I think she's an energetic lady who wants to do some stuff, and I think she needs an opportunity to do that. I think she needs to do a little more planning before we get funded.
Too much unknown variables there.
Yeah, and, 152,000 is a lot of money for a place where you don't even have a place where you can have the feeds. Yeah. She, expresses frustration that she can't get the county parks folks to commit to give her the fields, but, that's
If she did have the funding or the site location, would you spend that kind of money for a basketball tournament?
if she had multiple tournaments, I would spend less money.
So if there's a way that we can, I don't know, sort of, I'm gonna put that aside. I'm gonna put that assignment on you, Dick, and kind of help guide her and pulling it together, maybe not for this year, but maybe something that could be planned in 2026 and come back for some funding, for a funding request for it.
Yeah, I think if the public money's gonna be used, you gotta justify to the public as far as it's a wise expenditure.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
It's like I said, it's just, I just think she has a lot of things out there and just need to help her pull it together, maybe organize it a little bit better. And then, you know, pull in some partnerships. And I think it would be a great thing.
I know the CVB Sports Tourism Group is trying to work with her to get that stuff organized. Maybe we can count on them to sort of help her get that put together for next year.
Okay.
Sound right?
Yeah.
Yes.
None of you will talk with her?
I'm happy to talk with her.
Yeah, I think somebody need,
Mhm.
from here needs to,
That, I'm happy to do that with somebody that doesn't want me to do it. Somebody else wants to be in the meeting, I'm happy to make that happen too.
you need it?
Yeah, I don't mind being in the meeting.
Okay.
Just be careful as far as not obligating any money or making any promises she interpret that she feels like she has a commitment, because again, the committee has to make that decision as far as what to recommend, and then council decides. All we do is say is what you would recommend as a committee member.
You could recommend how she might firm up her application for next year. Yeah.
Identify the weaknesses.
Yes.
For something like this too, where we have a CVB and a sports marketing person, I mean, is it appropriate to just ask them directly what the probability for success for an event like this is and what's got to happen, et cetera?
I think we could ask the CVB that, but I think the management of events matters, and so the success is going to vary according to that.
Sure, sure.
And just make sure that there's no misunderstanding on her part, or she feels like she's got a certain way and then it doesn't work out, and she thinks that, hey, she was directed this way and it didn't work out, and then we get sued for that.
We'll send a follow-up memo, make it absolutely clear that that's finished.
And then you also have to open that up to other applicants who may want to meet with you guys personally. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I've done that in years past with the Bell Museum when they were trying to refurbish some houses and talk to them about how to do some stuff. I've talked with Monty at CVB, over at the USCB about how to increase our ticket sales and stuff. You know, I funded some productions over there personally, so we know some things like that.
Okay.
So it's
And
not,
for those who have the experience, I would hate to see that money leave Beaufort that could be in Beaufort.
Yeah.
And helping, yeah.
I know, like in Orlando at the Marriott Hotel, the World Center there, they've got a convention center and they have like, I don't know, at least a dozen basketball courts in there, and they draw all these huge tournaments for these basketball parents.
we had, I'm on the USCB Education Foundation. We had a group out of Georgia come in and want to lease land so they could build soccer fields, run tournaments on those soccer fields. They want to lease land. We ought to probably see if we can find a way to accommodate some folks that want to come in here and do that, because that doesn't cost us anything. They actually promote it, and our local team, our kids can participate in that instead of having to travel around every place they go. So there are ways to do that. And I know that the sports tourism folks are working on that. And a group called the Friends of Bird Wells Park is working on doing that at Bird Wells. Because Bird Wells is, you know, available in the northern portion of the county as well as from the Sun City, Okeechobee, Bluffton area. It's pretty easy to get to Bird.
Sure.
Okay. So we're now at the Gullah Museum of Hilton Head.
They were a no-show. They sent me an email after the fact, expressing some opinions that our meetings weren't fair. I haven't replied to it, but I was just gonna let y'all know about it. What was their email?
They're required to continue.
Correct. So I think that there's a little miscommunication that I'll clear up, that everyone also has to attend.
What did their email say?
So, it seems to us that both of your procedures and your eligibility criteria are so narrowly crafted that they are designed to exclude the activities of the Gullah Museum. First, Gullah Museum participates in activities of many of the ATAX applicants, including the Gullah festivals in Beaufort and Hilton Head Island. As a participant, but not principal sponsor, we are not in a position to document the whole number of hotels filled by those activities and organizations. We survey visitors to our festivals. A significant portion of our visitors are tourists who occupy hotel rooms in Beaufort County, but a significant number cross state lines to attend our events. We do not require that they verify that they have occupied hotel rooms exclusively for our festivals. Second, apparently it is your position that you must attend an orientation session and appear a second time before the ATAX committee for eligibility for funding in the second round of funding. We attended the orientation session. We appeared before the committee as its last hearing. We have submitted a written request for funding with explanations. It is not clear what purpose a second appearance before the committee would serve. We have chosen instead to provide the committee with a written statement. The statement is attached. And then there's another statement to y'all that's very late. But
Our procedures.
that's just everyone's held to the standard,
They
so.
didn't show.
Our policy in advance would get, I don't think correct change.
Correct.
Show up.
I just wanted to express that to y'all.
Thank you, appreciate it.
They could choose to show up to make their presentation to the committee or not, and they'll get due consideration based on whether they show up or not.
I think there was just either they didn't understand our procedure fully, or I'll
I don't think
reiterate
that
that.
procedure's any different than Hilton had, who gave them a boatload of money, so I don't get that.
Anita, you familiar,
Every one requires it.
Hmm?
Chicken.
I didn't hear
you familiar with them?
with
Are you
the,
familiar with them, he asked?
yes, I am.
And Anita, this is the same group that I tried to help with refurbishing and renovating some of the houses over there, right?
Hmm. And they've expanded. They've done a lot of work. The last time I was there in the fall.
Yeah.
I mean, last June, I think June or July. They've done
So all of this,
a lot of work.
all of their activities over on Hilton Head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a museum. It's a museum.
What's the reason in October?
The old museum is.
This one is.
I believe we denied him in October.
The museum?
I think that's right. That sounds like from the letter they wrote.
As a practical matter, our policies were what they were, and I don't think we have the authority to change it after the fact here, so.
Correct. There's
So-
no consideration.
Okay.
Are we thinking zero here, or does anybody feel like
This
this?
says at the end. but-
They weren't eligible because they didn't show up.
Got
They
it.
didn't come.
Just want to clarify. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, favor corporation.
Favorite court.
All right. Where them fans at? Okay, line dances is the hottest new trend going on. And them having a festival to bring and I mean folks come from everywhere for it. So I think it's it'll be a good tourist draw as we continue to to have more of them. I think and she's bringing some top line dance, I guess, artists. That's going and the name itself is going to be a draw. That's going to bring people here. And the thing about the line dancing is that they come in teams, so it's not one or two people. You may have 30 people as part of a line dance group that may come in to be a part of this. So I think it'll be a good tourist draw.
And remind me where this presentation is going to be?
Yeah, Shelter Cove.
Shelter Cove.
Hilton Head. Mhm.
She also said they are booking 100 rooms at the Hilton Head Inn to get a group rate. They expect around 400 people. And Anita, you asked, how will you get visitors to come to the northern county?
Right.
And she said, well, we would tell people to go visit. And she also did not apply for Hilton Head ATAX. Remember we asked her? She did not apply for Hilton Head, which is where she did apply. So they're booking rooms on the island.
It sounded to me in her presentation that she's putting a series of these performances together sort of up and down the coast.
Mhm.
And this budget was sort of the budget for putting one on here. I would like to see that happen. I think it could be helpful. I think there are people that would come. If we're going to do something, I think we do a smaller amount than she's asked for. And then she needs to raise the additional money, have the event, or else she won't file for reimbursement because she will not have used the money properly. So I think if she's got an event in St. Simon's, an event in Myrtle Beach, an event in some other place in between, she's just filling in the gaps with us to come through here and do stuff. I'm not real sure. That's what we want to be doing. I think she might be an act to be put in some of the festival at some point, but that's just me.
Well, the good part is it's October, so it's slow time, but it is on the island.
How much did they ask for?
15,000.
8,000. Mhm.
And they will generate ATEX on the island with 100 hotel rooms.
And they did.
She hopes.
I'm just saying.
I wonder if.
The budget they submitted calls for that 15,000 come from corporate sponsorships, not grants, but, I agree with the approach Dick outlined. Provide some level of support and
Mhm.
then let's see where this thing goes going forward. Maybe this is something she could do, in a different part of the county in the future or an additional event.
Mhm.
Back to it.
Okay, we'll decide the word amount when we roll through.
Yes, we'll come back to it.
All right,
Can we take a 5-minute break?
absolutely. Let's do that.
Where's Chris?
Back in 5 minutes.
You can actually,
Out- Outside around the corner, first bush on the left.
I think I must have added you in.
That's the ladies room. It's
Yeah.
Oh, I can't get around to
I lived
that.
in college, a young man that all the girls can use the restroom of her house. He went to push.
You don't know who said that one was in March? Which one was that? The USCB one? Because the Friedman Arts next one coming up was in March. And they're reimbursement.
Okay, so we'll come back. There's a unisex bathroom on this side, and the men's bathroom is on this side too. Sorry, I'm losing.
That's what I said. Because remember, last year we funded Chalk It Up. And this year they got funding from Beaufort City for Chalk It Up.
Yeah,
So they
it's the
came,
same monies, it's the same monies they're asking for.
well, they got 20,000 from Beaufort City for Chalk It Up. And now they came to ask us for the ballet.
Yeah.
It was at the same time as Chalk It Up, so it's not going to generate.
They want money.
Yeah, exactly.
We just have to conversation, we're just chatting. Yeah.
Sounds.
It does. Oh, when Brian steps out of the room, we can talk about anything.
Oh, you're on recess. You drive right in.
Yeah, did you go on recess for the camera?
Yes, I messaged Alec and he muted.
There you go, we're on recess. please.
I'm not debating that. I'm not geographically.
Yeah, I'm focused on something rather. Okay, where are you, 16?
Yeah, Freedom Arts District.
I'm gonna make a statement and
What's
step
that
out.
favorite court? Do we decide on?
Decide that was the 843 line dance thing.
And.
Come back to it.
Oh, come back, okay, yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna make a statement about Freedom's Arts and step out of the room.
Okay.
Jonathan Green is a local artist who's grown up and is perceived to be the foremost Gullah artist and teller of Southern stories, Southern experience. He wants to bring his collection to Beaufort and have a museum here. He's reaching out to USCB and they're in discussions. USCB doesn't have facilities to do that. The Freedman's Arts District had the opportunity, once every 5 years, the Southeastern Ballet does a performance of Jonathan Green off the wall and onto the stage. This opportunity presented itself for a date in March. The expectation they had was that the ATAC process would have worked out. I had previously committed $100,000 to advance the idea of a Jonathan Green Museum in conjunction with the USCB in this area. So that funding was taken out of the capital commitment we had made for that museum and funded that presentation. Anita, I think you went to the presentation
Was awesome.
for that event on Saturday night about 3 weeks ago. So for that reason, they have already paid these expenses out of the capital commitment. They're looking for reimbursement on that. Nita, I'm gonna step out of here because I'm conflicted on this.
Right.
I will be outside, you guys, whatever you need.
And the same as, what I had to say in reference to the USCB Center for the Arts. These things have to be scheduled. And so with the expectations that we would have been done with this funding cycle. And I don't know why it wouldn't, anyway, I think it needs to be, they need to be reimbursed. This Chalk It Up, this was the second year. And with that ballet being added to it, it took it to another totally different another level, and I only see it growing more and more and bringing more people here. And so I think it's a good investment for us, and I think we'll get a good return on that.
Is this the one that only presented one document?
That only did what now?
I wrote here, they only presented one document request of 37-1. And so you're looking at spending $50,000 for one day event during the Chalk It Up Festival. Is that a good return on investment is my question.
I think it's a good investment because I see it only growing. I can easily see it going into an extra day, bringing people in on Thursday as opposed to Friday because of the overflow.
I don't have it on piece document.
Okay, I don't know what I have. What's the 37.5? 37.1. They were asking for 50, right?
50. No, they get funding last time?
They got in cycle one for the Chalk It Up Festival,
Chalk It Up.
and they got 50,000, and
For
then,
Chalk It Up?
yes,
And this time Beaufort City paid for Chalk It Up.
So they asked for something in the fall, you gave it to them. And then
No. We gave them Chalk It Up in the fall?
Yes.
Well, wait a minute.
I don't think, did we get, I don't think, we didn't give them their full ask.
She's looking at it.
I don't know how much I don't have it pulled up what they asked for, but they were awarded 50,000.
What?
Yeah,
In the
I
fall?
think that's,
In cycle one.
and then they added another event, other than what they asked for in the fall. Now they're asking for us to reimburse them for that event.
They got 20,000 from Beaufort City for Chalk It Up. They're doubling what is happening? I looked at Beaufort City.
There's nothing wrong with multiple entities funding an event if it's going to benefit each of those entities.
So we paid them 50,000 in the fall? I don't know.
That's what they were awarded. They haven't submitted their final,
What was their ask?
let me,
And did they ask for this to be awarded in the fall and was denied, and now they're coming back, or is this something totally new that wasn't considered? And is it before or after the fact?
It would be nice if all the ATACs were at the same time, because I had to dig this up from Beaufort City, I dug up Bluffton, and I dug up Hilton Head. They're all different times.
It's whatever fits into their calendar, yes.
Which is why then I asked, when they present their receipts, how do you know they didn't present it to Beaufort, Hilton, and Beaufort? Right? You don't.
Well, the question is it because they need a large amount of funding, but they're trying to get it from multiple sources, or are they double dipping?
I don't
Meaning
have the answer.
same invoices for the same money. That's the key. You don't want to be paid twice, reimbursed twice for
Correct.
the same expense.
Mhm.
How about they requested 50,000 for cycle one?
And they got it?
Well, they get,
Let me try to find the
Did they
narrative.
explain why they didn't put this event in that application?
Since it's at the same time.
yes, it's a new event, chalk it up
Read
and then
this narrative. Jonathan.
Unless, Anita, would they have gotten this performer on a short notice? Or,
Probably.
I mean, maybe they didn't know it, I don't know that.
Right, possibly.
come in, right? You could do.
Because initially, he wasn't on there. I mean, the play wasn't on there. And then I found out that he was coming.
Yeah,
They
well, I
had-
think,
They had buses, people came by buses to the show.
yeah, I think what I recall is we funded the Chalk It Up event in round one of this year. And then this request is specifically for the Off the Wall and Onto the
Mhm.
Stage with Jonathan Green,
Mhm.
which in their narrative, they write that they are requesting 37,100 to support that promotion. I mean, that production specifically. So it's unique to the Chalk It Up event, just happened to be at the same time in conjunction. And then I'm trying to follow this though, because then it
So
says.
Kim, the ask is 37,100, but then they put 50.
No, the ask is 50 is 50, right? But the 37 is part of the ask, and then it's saying the estimated expenses are 47,100. So I'm trying to figure out what that variance is.
What I'm hearing too, this event was included in that last application,
No,
They asked for Chalk It Up.
chalk it up.
Yeah, that was for Chalk It Up.
but the ballet, I don't think it was.
I don't see it in there.
Okay, okay.
Could you follow up the Chalk It Up application?
The past one or the?
Yeah, the past one,
Second
the one we just did.
Oh.
Because the question is, they asked for 50,000, we gave them 50,000. Is that what the total they needed? Because Beaufort City just gave them 20 grand more. There goes to Brian's question. You'd have to look at their budget. This is what drives me crazy, because everything's,
Well, are we looking at what someone else gave somebody compared to what we give them? Are we
no, I'm looking at it, is there a double dip?
double difference?
So,
Okay, okay.
Okay, so they were asked for 50.
in other words, if the event was 100,000, we gave them 50, then they go to Beaufort for some more, I get it.
Just done before. And it was, this is cycle 2 application right here. Okay. The event happened before?
This is the new one,
This
this
is
is
March.
Jonathan Green.
Yeah, yeah. He's done this before.
It says they missed the submission deadline the first round, but they submitted for Chalk It Up.
Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah, I think this event was a later entry into their program.
Yeah. Notification for cycle 2, I think.
There's, okay, so
When is this event, by the way?
was January 29th.
There's the 46.5.
So it looks like from their, it says their total budget and requested grant budget is for their expenses of 47,100. So I don't know why they requested 50 if their
Right, yeah.
expenses are only 50, or if their expenses are less than what they're asking for.
Yeah, and that 47,500 is exclusively related to this production of the ballet. It's not related to the Chalk It Up event.
Correct.
It's unique.
We have this last, award.
I'm not sure if I have a final report from them yet because it just happened. So that, I think they emailed me and asked me when they have to have it in by. So they were actively working on it.
But my question was on the Chalk It Up application, was 50,000 their whole budget, or did they put they were asking for Bluffton's, Beaufort City?
They were awarded 30,000 last year. They were given 50, and now they have to apply for the other 15,000. So you got 30,000 for Chalk It Up. Full award with 30. First.
She said 50.
They got 50 for the Chalk It Up. I thought you were asking about their budget for this cycle.
No, for Chalk It Up.
30,000.
And their budget for that was, I thought I had it. Their total expenses for Chalk It Up was over 72,000, but there was nothing about Jonathan Green.
Well, but they got 50 from the county and 20 from the city.
That's what I wanted to make sure they didn't be double. All right, so you're on Jonathan Green.
Does anybody want to fund it or not?
I do.
I do.
Okay, then we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm gonna come back. I'll come back at this point.
But is it accurate, Bryson, that for Chalk It Up, last time they got 50 from us and 20 from the city?
We're moving on.
Yes, from my understanding,
Yeah,
yes.
I just want to ask that question.
Okay.
Just clarify. Okay.
We funded Chalk It Up 50,000.
Got it.
Or he's recused himself, so.
No, sorry. Okay, now you're on whatever the last one is. Beaufort 250 committee.
I'm gonna recuse myself.
You're not 250 years old, Anita.
251 to be exact.
Oh,
This was Marie's.
Yeah, this is my, what they're asking for is marketing, promotion, production, and publicity in support of the 25th, their event for 4th of July. So they call the application, well-designed application, and I don't know, I'm looking to see the data. They asking for 47,960. I'm looking to see, and part of this goes to salary too. Yes, on the data, it goes to salary.
they're hiring a person to run this.
And we don't,
So,
so, I don't know, I'm just saying, not fun, the whole thing, but something.
And they were awarded funds in cycle 1, but you guys recommended that they come back.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah, we got
they had a big
35.
complex request.
I would say give, but not until one thing, so
I'm sorry.
give them a partial.
So evidently they need matching funds,
Yeah.
which is what this is, in addition to the 32.5 we gave them. But also they're asking 20,000 for Veterans Day, Memorial Day events on Beaufort, Hilton Head, Bluffton, and around Sun City. Kind of convoluted application.
Yeah.
But the match is 27,960. That's the
Right.
on the match. I'm in favor of funding something here.
47?
Yes,
How much, Ken?
I'm in agreement with you, Ken.
The entire thing? We'll come back and discuss
Oh,
the award amount. Before that. Okay.
Okay,
Are we at that place now? Forget about lunch. It doesn't have to eat, it's just you,
That's only 10:30.
okay, and dirty, yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, you gotta go back to number 2.
Okay, now.
Okay. So we're no on Hilton Head, so Spanish Moss, number 2, the Kids in Parks program for Spanish Moss, the request was 20. I believe this is the one that had the $10,000
Admin,
admin.
Yes,
So I would like the motion that we award 10 on this one, with the call out being that we're not funding the admin, but the balance.
You wanna take a vote on that, because your notes have to reflect your vote. That's what John said. Somebody make a motion and just vote.
I second that and, oh, yeah,
All in favor? Oh, okay, it's discussion? All in favor?
Yes, for me.
yes,
so 10 on that one.
yeah.
Okay.
We're 10 on Spanish Moss,
Mm-hmm.
Kids Along the Trail. Number 3, Friends of Spanish Moss Trail, funding their marketing budget of 20,000. Yeah, I would, again, I'll motion again on this one to fund the full amount of 20,000.
A second.
We gave them 20,000 in rounds 1.
We did, I mean, well,
Is it the same thing?
yes, the discussion, I guess, is, if is I think that,
And they're working with the CBB on this?
yes, they do, I believe.
So I question why didn't they ask for 40,000 in October? Because they think we're not gonna look back.
They didn't think we'd have that much money available. I can assure you, next year, that won't be a problem.
You know, next year, okay,
I'm,
I know.
that's the reason.
I don't
There's
see
too
any
many-
reason not,
I want to read it.
not to, fund it. So I'm in agreement for funding the full amount of 20.
I'm okay with it.
You have to vote.
Is there a motion?
Additional,
I'm moving from
I motion,
Full
I need a
amount of
second,
20 on the application for marketing for the Spanish Moss Trail.
second,
I second.
A second.
discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I suggest you write down the, we may only have one round next year, don't you come in? I'm sorry.
I was hoping we would say that, so we absolutely are gonna have one next year.
Yeah. Okay, round 4, Art Center.
I would say they asking for 40. I think that in discussion, we said they get something. I don't think we should fund the whole 40,000.
What do you think we should?
I'm saying I would cut that in half, 20. I think, I don't know, they're getting funding, we shouldn't use that as baseline, but they got monies.
I'm okay with cutting it to 20. From either anybody else want to make your motion?
Same here.
I move that we
I'm good.
we cut the funds to 20, the asking fund to 20,000.
Second,
Discussion, all in favor?
Alright,
Okay, there's 20,000 Art Center.
whose degree it is.
Baja's funding of the New Year's Eve fireworks.
Fireworks.
I move that we fund them the full amount.
I second that.
Second. Okay.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, there's 20 for that event. Next up is the Port Royal Sound Foundation's the dock renovation. 52, they asked for 52,510.
I move that we fund it. Amount.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
Abstaining,
right? I'm sorry, Marie, you're in?
oh, and yeah, yes,
Okay, all right, I think that's,
52,510.
then that is awarded. the Beaufort History Museum.
Just, I don't know what to say. Somebody else got something.
Was that the one with the staircase?
Yeah.
Yes.
A staircase and $60,000
I
to
see
Greenville
Greenville.
for marketing.
I said no.
Nothing?
You have to make a motion.
What was it? I don't want to be the one saying no, what, this and that.
Well, some of you voted to fund it, or you wouldn't be talking
Yeah,
about
but
it.
I would vote to give them some funding.
I would be in favor of giving them $30,000 provided they do their marketing through the CVB.
I like that idea.
Second, I second. Second.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
And you have to make sure that it's dedicated for marketing and not for the
Exactly.
staircase.
That's right.
okay. So we've got,
And did we get a vote on that?
not yet, so the motion and second
Clarify your
is
motion.
$30,000 dedicated to marketing, they use the CVB,
But
all in favor?
$30,000 marketing only through the CVB is the motion. And the second.
Okay, 30,000 there for marketing through CVB.
Presentation, I think we need to give them something. I'm not sure we need to give them the full amount. I don't really have a strong recommendation here, but continuing our sort of arbitrary component, I'd recommend 20. That's a motion.
They asked for 15,000 marketing.
I look for 35, just remember. So,
Yeah, I know, but 15,000 is marketing.
Okay.
if you want to limit it to 15,000 marketing, I'm happy to make that motion. If I had a second.
What else?
I like the 20. I like the 20, so I'm.
What do you guys want the extra?
What else are they asking for?
Yeah,
Like marketing and
it's the Gullah Traveling Theater.
No,
This is
Mitchell.
Oh, Mitchellville, oh.
Yeah, they have two to help fund their two celebrations. So-
AI software, $18,000.
Well, that's the one you have that already.
And then it's Juneteenth,
Yeah.
and then it's,
it's the Juneteenth celebration and the Christmas
and
lights.
Christmas lights. And why don't they use the CVB? Their marketing is in Columbia.
Yeah.
There you go.
Which CVB what they use.
They should use ours.
Well, ours doesn't marketing.
Our CD is not on Hilton.
Oh, they could use the
Okay.
chamber then. We give them plenty of money down there. They're a DMO.
Why don't we give them $20,000, provide it's limited to marketing only? And if they choose to use the folks in Columbia next year, we can take that into consideration. My view is we're sort of going to wean them off to them becoming their own entity anyway, because it can't be big enough.
I
I like
second.
that.
That's my motion.
I'm going with it.
Okay, discussion,
Got one here.
all in favor?
I,
Okay, so
Marketing.
20,000 to be used for marketing. Let's see, I think we're on Gullah Traveling Theater.
I'm gonna recuse myself, so I'll step
Okay. This is the play as in conjunction with the overall Revolution celebration.
This is the one for marketing, 15,000.
So I've got one question about this that I wasn't sure on. So does this group currently owe us any information from any previous grants?
They paid up. They were awarded funds in cycle one and have not requested the second half of funding yet. So I haven't received a report from cycle one yet, but that was for a different event.
And some of those events just happened a couple of weeks ago. so
Right.
those documents
Yeah.
don't know.
But so there's nothing currently overdue or owed or anything like that, right?
I do not believe so. We fixed all that in cycle one.
I said, I would say fund it. They had a few, missing, so I would say fund it. But right now, we just going over the gray areas and everybody else.
Well, what about their profit and loss statement? How many times are you guys gonna tell them that before you require it? I'm just putting that out there.
I think all of that was done, right?
All the,
Let me double check.
They paid back, she said.
15,000, right?
They provided a statement of activity,
And they, yeah,
and their financial report.
Okay, good.
I said fund, and then next cycle look for these things if it's not done.
So Marie, you motioned,
I move that we, fund this event, this, traveling, traveling theater,
At what level?
at the full, ask,
25,000.
yes.
Okay. I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our
Bring it
next
back.
is
Yes, we need
the,
it back.
Anita, yeah, Anita, if you can hear us, we need you back.
Okay, now we're good. The symphony, you decided 0.
Yeah. We said no that one, yeah, we said no that one.
Yep.
Okay, no that one.
Now you're on
Y'all finished?
USB.
Yep,
Yeah.
please come back.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Was that one that, we talked about encouraging to add some of the parks this way?
Yeah,
Encouraging to have some stuff in other spaces.
when they apply the next time.
Yeah.
We didn't say that, can't say that.
Well, their performances are set for this year. Again, you're gonna kick into the 2-year one.
Yeah, the thought was that if we provided some funding, encourage them to do that, we do it next week.
Yeah, that's why they're still on the list. That was the
Contractually,
concept.
yeah, it would be expanded.
I thought we said they can come back with a proposal to move it out to the county, and then we fund it. There's no guarantee they're gonna fund it. When you give them money, they're gonna look to next year.
Well, I think the likelihood is that if we didn't fund them in the last cycle and we don't fund them now, they're going to contract and focus more exclusively on Hilton Head.
They get money from it.
I'm not debating that. I'm just debating whether or not we'd like to have performances about 70 other parts of the county where we might attract people. We do. It's like when I was on United Way Board, we had folks providing meetings. Providing a portion of the county, if we get them to do a bigger portion of the county, that would set up another meals on this program or set up in this county. So I'm just suggesting that we stay engaged with these people, encouraging them to improve, or do we not?
That's up to you guys.
No, but, so really, on the target group in the application, the target group,
We
they're targeting,
I'm sorry,
There's a lot going on here.
okay.
we couldn't hear that. Is
I don't have the
there,
application, the target area of performance.
Well, their target area is, I guess, geographically where they have them.
So,
which is
yes.
Inside the auditorium on one of the school, plus a concert on Hilton Head, plus a concert in Bluff.
So we're gonna fund them, partner fund them to encourage them to bring it over there. How they, what they're doing now, how would that change their thinking in the future? Are you gonna tell them to market in this area, they can market this area, or how would they know that in order to expand their marketing?
Well, the way in which I would propose we would do it, we would say to them that we're happy to see that they've expanded beyond just doing an auditorium and now it's concerts and parks on Hilton Head and Bluff. We would like to see that expanded because our responsibility is the county to create heads and beds and seats in restaurants and other portions of the county as well. So we'd like for them to continue to expand that program. If not, we may not be able to fund them.
So what amount do you feel we should?
I was thinking 15,000, what I put down to the.
What are they asking for?
That's a lot of money on West.
Yeah, they're asking for, they're asking for 25, right?
Correct.
I was thinking like 10,000 and that we, connect them with Baja or whoever we need to try to say, hey, how do you brainstorm doing something in the northern part of the county for the future? Not that it would be, these funds would be contingent upon that, but so the next time maybe we try to work together and synergize for something bigger and see if they take action on that. And that would influence, that could potentially influence future grants.
Ken, if they decided to do something on Defusky, that would be okay too. It doesn't have to.
Of course, absolutely. I almost said both, but then I figured, didn't know if that would be. But yes, of course, the Fusky or the northern part of the town.
What was their application for? What were they gonna use the funds for?
Their usual,
They're doing these concerts on Hilton Head and
one in Bluffton.
one in Bluffton that's outside and that's whether, and these guys received money for about 20 years and we did, and they get all upset about that, irritating complaints, folks from county council. I'm not suggesting that's.
What are they asking to use it for advertising or to pay for the cost of the
They
event?
want materials in the hotels. This is where, and they put their artists, judges, and musicians in the Marriott, remember, I told you.
All right, so do you want to fund putting people in hotels in another municipality?
I'm happy to limit it specifically to marketing dollars.
Then how much do they ask for marketing?
I don't have that. I didn't write it down because I didn't think we were gonna fund it.
They didn't break it out there.
They get dollars from Hilton Head and Bluffton ATEX and the South Carolina Performing Arts Commission.
Okay, but you just need to focus on their application, what they asked for, and are you satisfied with that ask? And to what extent are you satisfied to?
Can you find the rest?
It looks like it's probably their budget and their marketing expenses. Oh, that's not what they're asking for, but they're 131,000 in marketing expenses. But
But on this application specifically before the board, what are they asking for?
it's on their application. I'm just trying to find their breakdown of what they're actually asking for.
But we're not talking about marketing. You're talking about something else. You're talking about having them do performances in unincorporated Beaufort. We're not talking about marketing yet.
We are. The way I'm looking at phrasing it is we're trying to help people who want to support you, and here's things we'd like for you to do in the future. If you feel like you can do those things, include it in future applications, we'll consider it. If you don't do those things, we'll consider it in future applications. If you're not going to do it, then we'll look around for something else to do.
And where would they go with the 15 and give them? What are you gonna do with it?
If I do it and we find it in this application, my recommendation is specifically marketing and advertising, but they have to have asked for that in the application, which is what.
Like general marketing and advertising or an unincorporated?
General.
Okay, their ask was for SC advertising, so they have broadcasting, print advertising, airport advertising, and digital marketing. That totals $120 or $102,000, but their total request is only for 25.
Yeah.
Of that.
That's because we always give them 25, I know.
So they're asking for $25,000 in marketing and advertising in this application, is what you're saying?
That's what I see here.
Okay, then six ask fits within that.
So Ken, they've asked for 25 in marketing and advertising. It's the menu of events, of actions and expenditures that Bryson outlined. You had suggested 10. I was okay with 15. What do you want to do? But it is conditioned upon, not conditioned, but it is including a statement that we would encourage them to do more in other areas.
Right.
And
I don't know if encourage is a word. Remember Concourse to Elegance, we required them to come out here.
What you talked about earlier in the motion was that you would couch it that if they were to ask for money in the future for events that were out in rural county or north of the Broad, then we would entertain a larger grant.
what he said.
I'm fine with 15.
So Ken, I'm happy to make a motion. Would you like it to be at 10?
I will go with 10.
Okay.
Because I would say
You making the
10.
motion to 10?
I approve that this could be awarded 10,000.
I second.
And, yeah, 10,000.
For marketing.
With
Yeah.
the caveats.
For marketing program.
For marketing promotion.
And the expectation
Yes.
is to do more in the future, we'll be
Yes, yes,
more likely to help them.
yes.
I think the expectation, I wouldn't say that, but I would say the expectation is in the future, if you come back, you should be out in part of the county. Just like we do with Concourse to Elegance. We did it to them, we said, they're gonna be to Paris Island or whatever, if I remember, that's why we gave them money. So the condition was, these guys should come out here, which I can't, I mean, they're not going to Defusky. An orchestra taking the ferry to Defusky,
The roads are too limited.
it's not gonna happen.
But let me tell you, I would take.
Do we have a motion at 10? Do we have a second?
That's okay.
I got a motion. Second.
Any more
What number is it
discussion?
again?
10.
It's 10.
So get
All in
10.
favor of 10?
Okay.
Just, you're in favor. 'cause you made a
Okay.
motion.
I'm in favor, yes. Okay.
I've seen people on the school board make a motion and then abstain from the vote.
That's not the example we're looking for.
I know, I'm just pointing it out.
I understand.
Bessie,
Okay, next up is the UCSB Center for the Arts. The Performing Arts.
Not
Center.
University of California, Santa Barbara, it's University of South Carolina.
Did I say that? I'm sorry.
You
You
did.
tell I'm from
You're not the only
California.
one.
Ha! That's funny. Okay, so now that's been corrected. The ask is 15,000.
I move that we give them the total.
15, is that what you're motioning?
That's the motion I made.
I would second that. Discussion? All in favor?
But did you hear the motion?
Yeah.
Okay, the next ask was from the Carolina Bright Sanctuary Group for Wings Over Beaufort. $42,000 ask. Largely associated with bringing in a very renowned expert in this area and corresponding event that goes along with that. Anybody have any thoughts here?
What did the application say? What are they doing as marketing concern? How they marketing again? Which one?
Let's see here.
here, it's fine. They have their keynote speaker for 17,000.
Pretty stiff.
Opening and funding to attract.
Does he get-
Opening and closing events, 10,000. Rental of events, 15,000. Funding has been pledged to help offset the cost.
Do they charge for this event?
The 10-day festival, they're charging.
This event is in
Ask
September.
is 42,000.
Good time of the year.
They applied
September.
last year,
They applied in cycle 1.
and would they get something?
I think that's why they're back. Let me
They got 11-2.
Yes,
in
correct.
cycle 1.
So.
For the same ask?
No.
It was for their first festival that they pulled in 94 people.
And their fiscal agent is the CUV, so they're funding. It was a birding
It's
and
in,
ecotourism festival for the first one.
I move that we fund it because I think it's something that's gonna grow.
And it's, what time of year is it? October,
Mhm.
September?
23rd or 26th September.
Remember?
I agree. I
I
agree. I think this is one you got to look at a little more than just the isolated event. I mean, this is a space of tourism that has got great opportunity for growth. So these people may come back. As one of the things that kind of caught my attention was, there's different kinds of birds here throughout different times of the year. So you could have the same person, the same group get introduced, but come back multiple times.
Mhm.
Knowing that, like, now that they know they love the area and there's things to do and the birding is great. So I'm in favor of supporting this.
Fully,
For the full total amount, ask for
Yeah.
2,000?
Yeah.
Do they-
Yeah, the money. I think we should fund it in full.
Do they have other sources of funding overall? Anybody know?
They are collaborating with Honey Island, Spring Island for other funding. They have 15,000 already. I don't know where from. I didn't hear what you said. So they already have 15,000.
Okay, they do, right. So, okay, good. So this would not be the exclusive funding for this event. They've been able to get some other, so, what does everybody think? I would be in favor of,
Aren't they using the money to put people up in hotels and stuff too?
Yeah, it's speaker, hotel, yeah.
only once a week.
But
The
that, but
speaker
that,
is
but that,
17 grand.
Well, I would say
that-
funding, but not for 40,000.
yeah, that
I would
comes,
say, I would say, oh,
They're paying the speaker, his lodging, his plane, tables, chairs, porta potties, and they're hoping to draw 400 people.
Marie, did you have a
That's $100 a
dollar
person.
recommendation?
That's $100 a person.
Are you gonna recoup that money from,
I keep saying that, but it's not listening.
Like I said, I think it's a longer term investment than just looking at it in a vacuum of one event. It's building a space of tourism. So that's my view. I mean, you're right. If you just look at just in a vacuum, it's a big number, but we can attract a lot of people over time.
I'm just for marketing of that 42,000.
Speaker rentals.
I don't see exactly.
So this,
where-
yeah, this actually doesn't include marketing specifically in their high level budget, but we awarded marketing dollars for them in round one.
and they have the CVB helping them to market. So a lot of times, in order to need the marketing dollars, you have to have monies to produce the event. And so in this instance, they need the money to produce the event that needs to be marketed. And this is one of those up and rising tourist trend with everybody into the outdoors life now and green eating and green living and all that kind of stuff. This is a win-win for us because a lot of places don't have the birds and the climate to go along with birding. Birding is an up and coming sport. Yeah.
yeah,
So
bang for buck, we ever get that $53,000 back?
Again, you have to look at your return on investment. And why aren't they charging for some of this? What's the problem? They got a big expensive speaker. Why aren't they charging some admission fee?
I mean, what's the best use of the tourism dollars for the tourists to pay that tax is what you should be considering too.
For less than 400 people. I'm sounding like Jonathan here.
Yeah,
He used to say that.
yeah.
The reason that I provided financing for this is because this will be the first time people will be able to go to Spring Island, Braze Island, Morley Plantation, Crossover Island, Trip Island, the Pinckney Wildlife Refuge, and Palmetto Bluff to see birds and study bats. The event is a capstone event for this. It's the first event they probably should sell tickets.
Well, are they selling tickets to it?
There is no ticket sales. See, my overall concern with all of these is you fund them, everything's free. And for 400 people, that's a hefty price.
Because they know it's free, they can get the return from the ATEX.
Well, you don't know if they're staying in, I don't know where they're staying, what they're doing.
Yeah.
Other tourists are paying for their enjoyment.
For their,
I still stand on my motion. to
Okay.
fund.
So everybody's considered everything. I mean, you feel how you feel. You either want to promote it and hope it's a successful event and that it grows.
I still think, I think it's a good investment. I think it's a seed investment that's gonna grow. And so I still put the motion in that we fund it.
It's still there. Everybody just needs to vote at some point.
I motion we fund the full amount.
Second it.
I thought it was already, that was already the motion on the table.
Oh, my apologies. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
2,000.
You need to vote.
You have to vote. You guys have to vote.
Okay, so that was just two in favor?
Vote on 42,
Yes.
we not at a point of discussion. I did have a
You just
question.
had this.
He asked it in more discussion. Nobody said anything.
Yeah.
Now he's called the vote.
It's a way to move it a second.
So if you're not in favor of it,
You just don't know, then you can bring up another motion.
Yeah.
That's up to you.
sounds like it failed 2-3.
Okay.
Who said three voting against?
Those three people, I didn't see any votes.
I'm abstaining.
No,
This is two, then it's 2-2.
Fails.
Did you vote against?
She didn't vote.
I didn't vote, I didn't because I
One
heard,
question, and we can discuss it at this point, if
You-
that's failed.
That's failed, so now you can make another motion, is what you can do. Or you can discuss it further if you want to make more
Let's
points.
go ahead and discuss a little bit further. I think we got enough information to see what our return on the investment was. And that's the whole key. We want to invest some, but maybe not the entire 42. So what information we got about what they brought back from what we gave them on the first?
Brought me anything.
They had 97 people. That's what they brought.
Yeah. So my view on that is more broad, right? That I'm not thinking of this as the metrics of the return on investment as those 97 people. I'm looking at it like this is a potentially very significant avenue of new tourists to come to this market. We're uniquely qualified to serve them, right? It's a fantastic place for birding. We've got the wetlands amenity for people to come and see, and then of course all kinds of other wonderful, great things to do that people that like to bird probably like to do as well, like kayak and other outdoor things. So and what caught my attention during this presentation as well was the notion that different types of birds are here throughout different types of the year. So if you come once, and you like the area, you might be very likely to come multiple times a year because the experience will be different. So, I view this as more, and then we've got again, if you believe the presentation, one of the most renowned speakers in this whole space is going to be here. So you would think that would attract incremental people, especially if he's using his social media to say he's coming and things like that. Just adds credibility that this is a great region for this activity. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Doesn't mean that the word dollar amount makes sense. I did like the fact that they did raise $15,000. This is a $67,000 event, and they raised 15 separately. So they're not asking for 100% of the funding to come from these funds. So anyways, that's the way I was kind of viewing this particular one. I'm not falling on my sword on it. So whatever, I'm certainly open to another motion if somebody has one.
well, I'm hearing everything. I would suggest, 22,000, award them 22,000, take half of this,
And I came up with 25.
or 25, 22, something like that.
So one of you has to make a motion.
If you did 25, that could be 10,000 for the opening and closing events, and then the 15,000 for the rentals of events, and then just cut out the cost that they asked for the keynote speaker.
And that's all I did was check out.
Well, make a motion.
I moved that we go with 25 grand
Dedicated for what uses?
for what she just mentioned. Mention that again,
So they're cutting out the keynote speaker.
Yeah.
So it's for opening and closing events, and then the rental for events that's provided in the application.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
25,
Is there a second?
I second that.
Any further discussion?
All in favor? I'll vote for that.
Right.
Did Marie vote?
She did.
I
Okay,
did. I
okay,
did.
so we're 4-0 on, great.
You good? 13.
This was mine, and it just somebody had entered into piece of information, and so open. I think we speak highly and try to encourage her to do stuff and work with the sports council, but we don't.
So you make a motion.
Well, have a little discussion before I make a motion.
No, you make the motion, second, and then discussion.
Could do that, or you could talk about it and then make a motion. But since I will make a motion that we not fund it.
Second that.
Now discuss. I'm always, that's what he makes me do.
Well, except for it's all already on the table.
All right, discuss.
Did we come up with two people that was gonna talk with her? You?
Me and Anita.
Yeah.
And you know me, I'll be quiet and Anita will be all the time.
And follow up.
Where would the venue be? Where would you encourage the venue to be?
Well, I would encourage her to tell me what she wants to fund first, whether it's baseball or soccer or volleyball or basketball. And once she fixes what that's going to be, then we can start looking at it according to that. But she needs to narrow that down and do something rather than trying to do all of that at one time. Would be my approach now. Edie may feel different.
It's gotta be in
So
Beaufort.
that makes.
Absolutely.
She needs to
What was that, Anita?
focus on one sport. She needs to focus on one sport.
Yes.
And location.
Not necessarily one. But she gotta organize it. If she can, other than that, start with one, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying one for this first one.
Yeah.
Until she builds up her network of partners to be able to execute it. Because that's gonna either be the county or the school district or possibly both.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. We've had some discussion. Any other discussion?
Would somebody repeat the motion?
Motion, we not fund them, but we meet with her and encourage her to get ready to do stuff in the future.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, any more discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Okay. Next is the,
Favor core, yeah.
oh, because yeah, we already are no on Golden Museum. Yeah, favor court, that's right.
Yeah.
They asked for 15,000 to fund the Southern Blues Line Dance Festival, which has a celebrity in this space associated with it, correct?
Yeah. And I think this is another festival that has potential for a lot of growth. And that's what we're looking for. New ways to bring people in, and the fact that it's October, right? Yeah. Yeah, which is we need the people coming in.
And this would be another one potentially where it would be great if we could try to get this in a different part of the county, either as a
Right.
move it or do another one.
Where's the event?
So scheduled to be in Hilton Head, right?
It's at Hilton.
Yeah, but where?
Shelter Cove.
Shelter Cove.
Shelter Cove.
Out in the open, not in a bar.
Yeah.
I understand.
And they also didn't apply for Hilton Head Day tax. They need to be encouraged to go there.
This is she's doing a series of these up the coast, and this cycle happened to fit
Fit
in
in,
her timing
yeah.
for funding something up here.
I just want to make sure we're funding an event in a bar.
Oh, no, it's outside.
I'm not, St. Patrick's Day is important.
And the 15 is only for advertisement.
I had in mind giving her something like $5,000, let her come up with the other 10,000 if she wants to have the event. If not, she won't submit for reimbursement.
Well, that could be used as logic for a lot of these that you gave full funding for.
That is correct, it could, but all of them are not new, and all of them not the first time, but that is the
Well, the Burger one is relatively new.
Well, all will be new at some point, so,
I understand that.
And you want to encourage new events.
and we should stop funding things like, the events that have been existing for a while, because they're successful, so we should stop that.
There's my
Events,
point.
3 cent events will stop happening, and then tourism will drop, it won't be a problem, because it won't have anybody.
They'll keep going. They won't stop.
So they are asking
That's what the
for
state law requires.
a national recording artist and DJ, which is 15,000, rental of fence, table, chairs, sound system, 15,000, armed security for 1,500, venue rental, 750, marketing promotions, 10,000, and insurance of 1,800. So if you wanted to cut down that based on, but they're only asking for 15,000. That's just what they're spending their money for.
Yeah.
You said 10,000 for marketing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Let's do the 10,000 for marketing. So 10, if they outline marketing.
Is that a motion?
I move that we award $10,000 for marketing for this for the, what is it, Low Country Southern Blues Line Dance Festival.
A second.
Any more discussion?
Any more discussion?
All in favor? I'll vote for that.
Okay.
Okay. Next is the Freedoms Art District.
Step out while you guys do this.
Okay,
It's you guys.
and this was for the,
Those are full of.
off the wall ballet.
You guys didn't sound like you're in full support of them, so.
I understand this organization requires a matching fund, am I right?
No, we're on the freaking now.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's the next one. This was the ballet that occurred
Okay.
during the Chalk It Up event. Yeah, I believe the expenses were like 47. I'm not sure. We weren't clear why the request was 50. I don't think we ever.
Correct.
Of that 47,000 requested, what was the marketing, strategy?
Hold up somewhere.
Well, yeah, let's look at that. Pull that back up.
It's the same one that did the chocolate last year and got money less.
And they did it during Chalk It Up
During
Festival this year.
Okay, so
That's
both
right.
events will be simultaneously.
I think we need to fund them, reimburse them,
That's a motion.
at least, yeah. I so moved that we do 47,000. For the off the wall.
I think that's
What'd you say?
that's some brightness.
Huh?
We were trying to make y'all louder, sorry.
Oh,
2 hours later, we're making you laugh at 2.5 hours later.
It's been at the loudest that I can be.
And you need a second on that? Oh,
Did you repeat your motion, Anita?
Yeah, I moved that we do 47,000.
47.
second.
Discussion?
I'm in favor of that.
I'm in favor.
Take a vote. Okay.
I'll go along with that, yes.
Okay.
Did come back.
And that's
Yep,
for
and it-
what they had in their application, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
What made famous coming back, I think he'll do quite well.
Well, they already held it. It's over.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the final
That's
is
the door you opened twice.
the final is the Beaufort County 250 committee.
County 250.
Okay. So what
This is
do
the
we?
one that needs the matching funds.
This is the one that needs the matching funds.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what
And
did
the-
we decide about the Gullah Museum? You took that off completely because they didn't.
Correct. They didn't meet the requirement.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. I just want to.
Yes, 47,000.
So they have 20,000 for those Veteran Day and Memorial Day events with no budgeted amounts as of yet.
Yep.
So I don't know where they got 20,000. Out of their, the top of their head.
Mhm. I like the idea of,
I know where you're
fund-
going.
I like the idea of funding their need for the match to get them the larger grant.
How much is that?
Yeah.
27,960.
That's the number I have right there.
Okay.
Is that the motion? 27,960?
Yes.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
You know, Craig, when you write this up, I would suggest for their Veterans Day and Memorial Day events, they should pair up with Caroline Furman from our Veterans Affairs. They listed they're gonna hold it in Sun City. We already have those events, so there would be no cost.
You have to have them big up here.
We have them everywhere, so I don't know why they put 20,000.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
We put a flag on every grave in the National Cemetery.
Yeah.
up here.
And you have a veterans parade.
But we get our printout with a total allocation, this,
Yeah, we can tell you how much it
So
is.
we are at, for everything that's been voted on, awarding 332,470. And that's leaving 207,280. But That's fine,
207, 280.
780.
is what's left over.
And this other money's gonna be used for next cycle?
It rolls over.
It'll be the first money used in the next.
Okay, okay.
What was this last discussion related to? What was the application asked for?
They asked for matching funds.
For
The
what purpose?
250th anniversary celebration.
Well,
The matching funds were the match state funds for the 250th anniversary. The 20,000 we're not funding was for an event to be held in Sun City and elsewhere for, Veterans Day and for Memorial Day event.
So you're not funding putting the flags on the ground or anything like that?
No, no, no.
That happens every year. This is,
Those are county.
I just want to make sure that we qualify it and qualify under the state law, so I'm asking what was the money being used?
this is specifically the matching funds
Matching
that the
funds.
state's giving them for this event.
So
I think it's, I'm not even sure it's matching, right? It's a small, much smaller amount than the grant they will get because they raised that amount, I think.
Yeah.
So it's better than matching, right?
And yes, the matching funds, is there a limit on the use? Is that everything that's within their application? Because if you're excluding 20,000, you have to identify what you're not funding that's not to be used for.
So I'm a little reluctant in this one because if the state has a requirement that says you gotta use it this way, we don't want to create a conflict that prevents them getting.
No, he's saying make sure it's.
You pick up that 20,000 that you didn't want to fund, so you want to make sure that they don't submit invoices covering that.
We need to tell them the 20,000 is not included, but I don't think we want to tell them about 27,960 being used in a way that perhaps.
No, it's in their application. It's just, I want to make sure that we're clear that we don't reimburse them for anything that you don't want to fund.
The Veterans of Memorial.
We're in agreement.
Yeah, we didn't understand what it is.
You do.
Wow.
They
I
think
think
they're
half of
people
these-
doing stuff. The same reason the guy would put 60,000 in parking with a permit.
Yeah.
You know,
Half of
that
these
he's
do
always
that.
on CBD.
I know.
Except you need to get involved in some more of those problems. He really does that.
okay.
No.
So we have voted on each one.
32, 470 is the total.
Yes.
Does anyone want to go back and revisit any subset of that? If not, I'm happy to make a motion to approve that amount.
Second.
Recommend that for county council. I got a motion. We got a second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
With the clear understanding that no one is voting for anything particular to which they have recused themselves during the discussions.
That's correct. Do I need to vote for something less than the total names?
No, it's just saying that exclude voting any specific amounts that you had a conflict with.
You wrote down who recused when, right?
Yes.
Got it.
And the
Okay.
procedure is this to go to finance, you'll put on the agenda?
Yes, but we had.
And what did we give
We have to get his-
USCB?
Say that again, Anita?
What did we give to USCB Center for the Arts? Did we give them?
15.
15,000.
15.
That was their request.
Yes, total funded.
Ken, how long will it take you to draft your memo? Will you have it done by noon?
By noon?
Can I see the other, a sample?
Yes, I'll get all of that to you today and I'll send you the notes that I've taken too.
And to help you out, I will try to work on the AIS and the ordinance that we need to accompany this going forth, working with Bryson. But I need all the numbers that we talked about. So the numbers, the total amounts that we had in the fall, the amount that we awarded on that date, the amount that we had here to award, and the amount that we're recommending to award based upon Dick's motion just a minute ago. I need all that. I'll try to put that into the ordinance, get it ready, all of which has to be done today because Tab wants to rush this for tomorrow's agenda review.
Yeah, if we don't put it on tomorrow's agenda, it's gotta wait a whole month to
Okay,
go to finance.
we'll try to get it
On the
done.
agenda, but you don't have to have his presentation he'll make to county council for the agenda. You just have to have it by Monday.
I need to have the AIS and the ordinance today that I will work with Bryson to get done by tomorrow morning. We just need your memo as soon as possible, hopefully by Friday, so it gets to council, because council needs to be able to review that ahead of time, prepare for the meeting.
And for those of us who live in the civilian world, what is an AIS?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna tell you.
Agenda item summary, it's a one-page executive summary.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And who will be presenting at finance committee?
Our chair, vice chair, or, and along with Dick is what I heard.
And whoever you want.
The vice chair or his designee or the chair who decides to show up.
Right, he didn't participate in the meeting, so it'd be difficult for him.
Ken, did you,
All
help if I can?
And
How's
what's the
that?
date? What is that date of the previous?
Monday.
Monday.
If all, Monday?
Yeah.
Monday, where and when?
I think they're at 2:00.
Monday afternoon, the 21st of April, at the Arthur Horn Building on the second floor. And it's either 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
It's 2:00
Okay.
finance.
So 2 o'clock. We'll have you out of there no later than midnight.
Right, Bryson, if you could just get me that address.
Yes, sir.
And then whatever you send, regarding the information that was just requested, just copy me so I have everything.
Of
If
course.
anything that's, unless it's not appropriate to copy me.
Okay, I will do that as soon
And
as I get back
then,
from home.
that's great. And then the previous memos that I'm trying to use as inspiration would be great.
Yeah, of course.
All right, are we ready to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn?
Is there a meeting date set for the next go round? Is that all set?
No, it's in August. They haven't said it yet.
Would you like us to set it then?
It's up, for however you want to set it. At some point, you have to determine the deadline for the application.
Yeah.
Making it available, and then the meetings, if you're gonna do workshops, all of that has to be discussed. You can have another administrative type meeting, working it out administratively online, which might be feasible in this case, because the chair is not here. And just try to accommodate the chair schedule as well.
I would suggest that we have our training session on August 5th and have our funding session on August 29th. Excuse me, our submittal date's August 29th, and then our funding session sometime in September.
Say that one more time.
Meet on the 5th and train them.
Okay.
They got till the 29th to submit. Then we will have them on the 29th of September, of August rather, and then review them in mid-September, say, well. Something.
Keeping our meetings, Tuesdays? That was.
Whenever you pick it.
Yeah.
You just want one workshop, Dick, or two?
We only have one training session for.
This go around. We did 2 for cycle 1.
This will be cycle 1.
Oh, no?
Well, we did 2 for cycle 1 and 2. We did 1 for each cycle.
No, 2 for
We
cycle
did 2
1.
for
Yeah,
cycle
makeup
1.
day.
We did a morning,
You've
and
done
then we
3.
did an after.
Do we need to do it again?
That's
Do we
up
need
to you.
I know, but what do you recommend? Should we value your opinion?
I think that people appreciate having an option of more than one day, but we only give them one presentation day, so it's, if, as long as we let them know in advance, then if we only want to offer one.
They
person.
just have to send somebody.
Yeah, and make it clear that they have to be there in order to.
Right.
Yeah, make it.
So,
clear.
okay, this is my question. So since they attended this year's workshops, those are null for next year's? They have to re-attend, come back.
All right, well, we need to make sure that they're okay with the chairman, obviously, but those 10 days, is there any objections or recommendations for those dates?
Do you think 24 days is enough for them to come to training and then prepare their applications if they meet long?
That's short for new people.
Yeah.
Somebody that's new at it, because they gotta talk to CDB,
Right.
I think that's short.
It's 3.5 weeks.
Why don't we push it out to September 10th then?
Yeah, take it after Labor Day. I'm just saying, if you're a new event and you've never done this, like the lady with the smoke,
Is that
the first time she came.
Is that the day after Labor Day?
It's a Tuesday.
No,
You probably don't want to meet the day after Labor Day.
it's
I think
not,
that
it's
works.
Wednesday, that's a Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Grant deadline, is that what we're discussing?
No, the workshop.
Workshop.
Okay, so,
The workshop, we're talking about August 5th.
right, correct.
And
Labor Day.
Grant deadline would be September 10th, so it's just.
Okay, it's that deadline.
And then we can open the grant August 4th and you have to attend. No, we'll open it the 5th after the grant.
in the workshop.
Right.
So 5th to the 10th.
And then somewhere 10 days, 2 weeks after that, we have our session.
Correct.
So somewhere around September 23rd, which is a Tuesday.
It's good too. I just want to be on this house.
Yes.
I would do my best.
Okay.
Very good.
All right.
It's great.
Next Tuesday.
Are we adjourned?
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.